I learned a lesson. I was just last night.
Yeah. That was my first weekend.
Can't talk that.
Was in there. I heard it was.
Nope. Nope.
That's why. Can see the guys?
All right.
That's
We're gonna call this meeting to order at 7:02 PM. We're gonna start with the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. All right, the Sunshine Law notice. In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, public meetings may be held in person or by means of communication equipment to include streaming services and other online meeting platforms. This meeting is being held in person and through the Zoom meeting platform, being broadcast from Borough Hall, 748 River Road, Fairhaven, New Jersey. Public participation for this regular council meeting of January 22nd, 2024 is available by calling phone number or through web conference Zoom. Members of the public will be on mute until it is time for questions or comments, which will be announced. At that time, the public has the opportunity to question or comment by phone or through Zoom by the raise hand button and will be called on at the appropriate time. Notice that this meeting was included in a schedule of meetings which was adopted by resolution number 2024-13 and sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Two River Times on January 4th, 2024, posted on the Borough website, the bulletin board in the municipal building, and has remained continuously posted as required under the statute. With adequate notice having been given, the Borough Clerk is directed to include the statement in the minutes of this meeting. Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Council members Cole.
Here.
Demaseli.
Here.
Hoey.
Here.
Hatch.
Here.
LaBarbera.
Here.
Olson.
Here. Okay, thank you. I'd like to start off. We have an official commendation for life-saving, which is just about the greatest thing that I could possibly have the honor of performing tonight here. I think, you know, a few months ago and the year before this, we all talked about when we discussed the possibility of bringing these special law enforcement officers into the schools. We said we hoped that they were wasted money. We hope we wasted the money and we never had to use them. Now that they're there, we couldn't be happier that we had to use them for such an important moment in saving one's life. So I'd like to call up William Butch Stevenson to the front here. I'm going to read this. This is an official commendation for life-saving. On October 23rd, 2023, William Butch Stevenson, Class 3 Special Officer at Sickle School, observed a school employee choking on something while eating. Officer Stevenson immediately went over to assess the situation and performed the Heimlich maneuver, which dislodged what the employee was choking on, allowing him to breathe on his own with no further treatment. As a direct result of Officer Stevenson's immediate life-saving actions that day, a traumatic event was able to be prevented. His quick action and professionalism reflect the highest tradition of the Fairhaven Police Department.
Mayor, I saw Principal Schwartz too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You were able to turn away like this. Very nice. Thank you. Just want to thank everybody that showed up. My old colleagues from the sheriff's office that showed up, my family and all the officers here, and thank you, Chief, for hiring me. This is one of the best jobs I've had, and I've worked in a lot of evenings. Thank you so much, the whole school and everybody there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You've been in love civic duty involved with salt. Thank you, guys.
I know, you don't have.
Thank you. Pretty cool. Your top three. Something. Seriously, I don't think you can. Oh, it's no sense.
Okay, moving along, we have a tree appeal for 868 River Road. Before we get into it, is Carrie Van Winkle White here?
Yeah.
Carrie, we're not gonna applaud for you like we did the. You can stand up.
Hi, my name is Carrie Van Winkle White. I live at 868 River Road. I've resided there for 20 years. We have 2 trees in my yard that are in need of being pulled. It's not something I wanted to do. I had a tree fall on my roof in 2019. It went through the roof and the roof had to be replaced. I do have 2 daughters, and one of the trees is very close to the window of my house. And I put it off because I didn't want to get rid of it, but it's really, with the storms, it's really dangerous. I have pictures to show you, and I do plan on, of course, I'm proud parent and resident, I plan on replanting 7 to 8 foot conifers in our backyard by June with new seeding inside. And I've always taken care of my conifers. That's fine.
Do you have, were you the one that built the deck around the tree, or was it already like that?
It was like that
It was
when
already
I
like that.
purchased it in 2003.
Okay.
Oh, do you have the pictures?
Yeah,
We do.
I can see the need for their removal. And I also appreciate the fact that you're saying to plant.
Oh, absolutely.
It sounds like maybe you're thinking about arborvitae. Is that what you think? Do you have a shade tree? I think you have one red maple, right?
In the front,
Yeah,
yes.
I certainly don't object. I can understand your reasoning. I think the basis of the denial had to do with the percentage of the trees
Correct.
exceeding your.
Correct. And I've honestly put it off for a long time because I haven't wanted to do it. But it's at the point now, the trees are huge. And I want my roof to hit once. I can't take that chance. I mean, it went through my roof.
I mean, to put it in perspective, you've waited 21 years, right? Because you said you moved in 2003.
Correct.
So
And the deck kept going slower. And I was like, it's fine, it's fine. It's really not.
Which way is time?
Anyone got anything else? No, anyone have?
Well, one thing, so there's one in the backyard, one in the front yard.
No, they're both in the backyard. One
Both
is,
in, okay,
next on my deck. And the other one.
oh, okay,
And then
all right, so that's the back, okay,
This is
so
in the
that's one,
backyard.
okay,
And the other one's right there.
got it, okay, sounds good.
Anyone have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Next up, we have a tree appeal at 25 Poplar and is, Sean Lynch present, right? Sean Lynch on the, is on Zoom,
Yes.
okay? Sean,
Hi, good afternoon, good evening.
how are you?
Well, thank you. Appreciate your time.
No worries. Okay, so you're asking to remove, 5 large mature white pine trees, is that
It was 3.
3 of them are pines.
3 of which are very large, got it. And the other 2 are,
One is a
One is, I forget which one. It was, the request is only for 3 white pines.
The 5 trees.
okay, so it's a total of 5 trees, 3 of them are white pines, correct?
Yes,
And the picture I'm looking at, the white pines are the larger trees I'm looking at next to the fence that's pulled back?
yes, that's correct.
Okay, and I have a letter here from you. Is there anything you want to add to that letter?
Yeah, I've been a resident of Fairhaven for 35 years now. I've lived here my entire life. Actually, I had the opportunity to purchase my parents' house. I've seen these trees. I've grew up with them, and I can see that they're becoming a nuisance and that they'll cause future damage in the near future.
Yeah, sure.
Sean, you understand that you'll be required to plant new trees?
Yes, of course. I was actually looking at red maples.
I believe that's one of our, that's a nice choice for a native. And you're aware you have a Zelkova in the front yard, not an elm?
Oh, no, I wasn't aware of that, but thank you.
It's a detail, I don't know how critical it is. I did ask the tree specialist for some clarification on it. Is the front yard tree one that you would prefer to remove as well?
No, it's just the 3 white pines in the backyard that I'm looking to have removed.
Ariel said the hemlock is diseased. There's a 5th tree.
So your application refers to 5 trees.
We thought that 2 were on our property, but we had it just looked at and relined from our neighbor. That's on our neighbors.
So there's 1 white pine tree, the hemlock, and then the Zakova?
Or just 3 white pines?
Just the 3 white pines, and if the hemlock is diseased, we would be happy to have that removed as well.
Okay, so you're mentioning that you want to replace them, I think you said with red maples. How many red maples are you replacing the 3 trees with?
It was my intention to have 3 red maples and 2 black chestnuts. Walnuts.
So you're putting in 5 trees, you're giving us 5 trees for the 3 you're taking down?
Yes.
Or he takes down the hemlock.
Got it, okay. Questions?
I mean, my only thing, Mayor, is so Sherry's assessment here is far different than the previous application, right?
Right.
So the previous application is basically saying, hey, both trees have damage, although one is significantly worse. I would recommend both trees be removed due to their existing condition. Whereas Sherry's assessment here is while I understand the reasoning behind the removal. I mean,
She's on Zoom.
yeah, no, that's fine. I just, what I'm having a hard time is I understand a dislodged fence is problematic. I've been there with my fence and my trees. I can understand to an extent the biodiversity of the backyard, but besides adding grass and trees, I really don't know what other greenery is gonna be added. I have no issues on the hemlocks, and Sherry said it's diseased. I'm not a proponent of the Zakova. That's the same one that was by the BP. Is that the same type of brand?
It is,
Right.
although I'm not sure its condition, which is why I asked Sherry for clarification on that.
Yeah,
So I would defer to, if, I believe Sherry is present.
yeah.
So if she's present, let's see if that the change in the application or what they want to remove would warrant a new application, or if she's okay with the fact of what they're now proposing.
Hi,
Okay. Hi, Sherry.
hi. Are you asking if they need to do a new permit to reduce to 3?
No, what I'm asking is two things, right? So the scope of the application has changed from which was initially submitted, number one.
Right.
Number two, your assessment here is that you understand the reason behind the approval removal, which is very different than giving an assessment that they're diseased and need to go. So if you can, one, expand on what you understand behind the reasoning, and two, if the change in the scope of the application changes what your professional recommendation is as the certified tree expert.
So I think the only reason for the change is because one of the trees is not on his property, right? So he's going to go from 5 trees to removing 4 trees. So I think maybe there was confusion. His tree service provided an inventory of his property, and I just noted the Zelkova because the tree service wrote it was an elm, and then there was lots of species in the backyard that didn't exist. So I just made a note of that. He did not ask to take out the Zelkova, nor was I recommending it. It's just, I was just noting that that inventory was not accurate.
That's helpful.
Yeah, the picture that they drew of all the trees makes it look like there's a lot of trees out there. There aren't. It's really just the pines along the side and, the hemlock and whatever the one was over his property line. There's nothing in the backyard, really.
Sherry, do you agree with the sentiment that the fence was damaged due to the tree's root system?
Yeah, I mean, they are really large white pine trees, and they're growing in between the 2 side yard fences. So
And Sean,
they're almost like running out of room over there, and so they're pushing out the fence.
Sean, do you plan to replace that fence, or you're going to fix it?
It would, once we have the trees removed, we were going to fix the fence with a true property line.
Quick question for Sharon. From your site visit, can this site accommodate 4 new trees, shade trees?
I don't recall what the front yard looked like, if there was room there. I mean, he could get a couple trees in the backyard. It's certainly not planted, 40, 50 feet apart, but, you could do a cluster type of planting. Sean, you mentioned you were going to plant black walnuts. Unless you have them growing, by seed, you're not going to be able to purchase those.
Okay, thank you for the insight.
It's a native tree, but it's not grown, commercially.
Understood.
Yeah, I'm just struggling with the fact that there's nothing wrong with the trees, and unless Sherry can provide more background, I can appreciate the issues of the fence. I can appreciate how long Helen Jones has been a resident, but every tree peel that has come to us was because there was damage to the tree, the proximity to a foundation, and I don't know, it's just.
This is more damage to the fence. What was there first? The tree or the fence?
Is that? He said the line, the property line has moved. So if the property line moves, does that move the fence, which then no longer interferes with the tree?
Question for Sean.
Yeah, currently the property line is, it's split through the trees. So we aren't able to get a accurate lining of our property.
So your property line goes through the actual trees that you're talking about removing?
Correct.
Does that create a problem for us, Attorney Sobel, not knowing whose tree it is, to give a permit to allow the resident to take the tree down?
Yeah, probably.
So-
Property rights.
So how would we
So
handle
we'll
it?
deny his appeal.
Contingent
Is the
on
tree-
finding out?
Is the center of the tree on your property line? Usually it goes by where the center of the tree falls.
No, sorry, the trees are on our property. The 3 trees that we want to have removed are on our property.
So the fence, though, is on whose property?
Is on my property.
Then what was the part of the property that you said, Sean, I'm having trouble following this entire story here. What's the property dispute right now?
There is no property dispute.
Didn't you just mention that you were gonna have to move the fence to a proper spot and then fix it once the property line was established?
Right. Our fence isn't straight. It's falling over. As you can see in the pictures, it's falling over, and then further in, you can see that it's cut around the tree as well.
So I think to kind of piggyback on Betsy's question, then a new fence will have to be put in though still, it sounds like. After this is fixed, is that correct?
Yes, we'd like to have a new fence put in.
Yeah. The property line has, that's another property line. Thank you.
Yeah, Sean, I think there's a lot of confusion here, and as you mentioned, these trees are pretty mature. And I think we need some more clarification on property lines before we make any decisions here. So I think someone's gonna make a motion here to carry this to the next meeting until we get that clarification. And then we can proceed at that time.
Yeah, just to add, I mean, I would like the neighbor, right, where this butts up against, right? At least some type of messaging from them. I'm not gonna make them come here, but messaging from them. And then a clear understanding where the center of the tree falls as far as the fence location. Because what I heard is if the trees and the fence are on his property, then just put a new fence on your property, right? But if I heard that the trees are on the actual line, on the sight line, and you can't put a fence straight on that sight line, well, technically you wouldn't put it on the sight line, but I just want some clarity. So
But also wouldn't the fence have to be still 5 feet off of in on his property line anyway, so it seems like the fence would actually maybe have to be in front of the trees.
potentially, I don't know. Depends on where it falls. So that would be my motion on the clarification, push to the fifth and get that additional information, the clarity, and then the other neighbor engaged, understanding where the lines are.
I'll make a motion, Kara, with those stipulations and suggest, Sean, that you either invite your neighbor or have some sort of something in writing from your neighbor to make sure that this body knows you've been in communication with them on this matter.
Okay, understood. Thank you for your time.
The next meeting's February 5th, Mr. Lynch.
Is there any value, Brian, in circling up on your end with,
You need a second before the discussion.
oh, second?
Like you made the motion, she was second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you, Sean and Sherry. You got one more though, Sherry.
Can I
Don't
ask
go
a
away.
question then?
No
To
problem.
clarify. So, because you're asking about shade tree, so just as a newbie, explain to me, do they typically go through shade tree? Does this generally, do these type of things go through shade tree?
So,
Lots of towns.
they do not currently.
Mhm.
I think, that's what we're trying to figure out right now, is whether that's the right approach, because quite truthfully, I don't really want to be doing this right now by
Yeah.
trial and jury.
Yeah.
So, I think it's wasting valuable time that we could have, no disrespect, but that we could be purposing towards
Yeah.
more important
And there'll
subjects,
be people who know more about these topics
Yeah.
then.
so,
That's part of the new ordinance, right? In draft.
yes. potentially.
In draft.
Potentially, yeah.
Can I ask one more question then? Historically, what is our policy though with damage? It sounds like damaged foundations, but like what about damage to fence? Like what have we historically?
Well, it's-
however
I
does
mean,
it
it's
go?
more subjective. That's the honest truth. There's
Case
no,
by case. It's a-
black letter law.
They're asking for something that isn't provided for in the law.
Okay.
All right, next up, we have a tree appeal for 547 River Road. Is Mr. Michael Kennedy present
Yes.
on Zoom? Okay. All right, Mr. Kennedy, we have a appeal regarding a white pine tree in your front yard.
Yes, my name is Michael Kennedy, 547 River Road. I've been a resident for about 3 months now. Um, and I'm trying to improve the property. I guess we didn't know exactly what the actual rules were about taking down the percentage of trees. But there's some of these trees that from the pictures and things you can see that two of them were diseased. The other one in the front is just a one that's actually just a nuisance that's there in that spot. And then in the backyard, there's also a couple trees that actually are diseased and dying that you can probably see from the pictures. So the idea is in the front yard to keep a screen there in the front with some green giants or some uh, uh, skip laurels, and then also build a cluster of shade trees there if those pines are removed.
Did you say, green giants in the front?
Uh, no, for the back, the
Okay.
skip laurels is what skip laurels is what I would plan to put in the front so they could be trimmed more easily. And I think I have another crepe myrtle that I would put in there, but really the front there to take care of those large trees would be a cluster of shade trees. I think I put October glories and red maples in there.
So it's eight trees total?
No, so Mayor, Mayor and Council, just so you guys can focus on this one, it's only regarding the one white pine tree in the front yard that we're talking about, because everything else was marked to be removed, required removal due to their condition. So it's the one white pine tree in the front yard is what you guys are considering at this point.
All the others
Yeah,
are.
all the others are fine. Is it just the one large one there that's in the picture?
So the other ones were all approved, the other 7 were approved.
They're all deceased, it looks like.
Okay, they're all diseased, so, and you're talking about replacing, did you replace any of the other 7 or? No?
Nothing.
I know you don't have to, I'm just curious.
No, nothing's been replaced. I was waiting to until we took care of all this, and then I'd take down exactly what is approved and then go from there. So I held off on all the others.
What is your plan for replacement for the total of 8 trees?
I'd like to replace in the front there where those are coming down is to put the shade trees, a cluster of shade trees there in the front, and then also put a screen there to the front to the road with the skip laurels. And then in the back, I would also put, or actually in the front there also to match the other crepe myrtle that's on one side of the driveway to put another. And then the back would be to add shade trees where those other disease trees would be coming down.
I follow you when you're talking about a shade tree in the front yard, which, even our tree expert has suggested that there'd be an ecological benefit if you could choose a native shade tree for the front yard. I'm struggling with your property is on River Road, and I'm struggling with the thing I think I keep hearing you saying about screening in the front yard with skip laurels, unless I got that wrong.
No, that was just I put it there. If it's something that's not something that's wanted, that's fine as well. My neighbors would ask about, there's a couple trees that are there right now, and they said that they like that the trees are there. It helps them kind of get a screen. So I didn't want to take them down, or I didn't want to not have a screen for them also, because it's more of a view for them than me. But I don't need to do that.
Screen River Road from your home? Or you're trying to screen your home from?
My home sits very far back than most of the homes on River Road. It's an unusual lot there that sits very far back than typical houses on River Road.
Okay.
You're trying to be a friendly neighbor.
Right.
Sherry, can you, so real quick, like first I want to recognize Mike, thanks for being only here 3 months and following the process and being here tonight on the phone, right? So I just want to recognize that and thank you, because that's awesome. Sherry, if you, for me, and again, I've only been, this is my second year in council, but you said that The resident indicated he wanted to remove it due to species susceptibility to branch failure. Can you describe to me how branch failure is specific to white pines, but not other trees?
Right.
If you can help
Yeah,
me.
so white pines are known for storm damage and breakage. They're a weak wooded tree. Evergreens are softwood, so when you do drive around after a storm, you often will see limbs of pine trees down. That tree that he has is not very large. I mean, it's a tall tree, but it's not an old, mature type of pine tree. When he had mentioned, I spoke to Mike on the phone, we did speak about removing the pine tree and putting in deciduous trees instead, just because of potential branch breakage, needle drop, sap drop, so he wanted to change what was in the front yard.
And what's the diameter of the white pine? If it's not that large, is the diameter 12-inch plus?
Yeah, I'm seeing if I wrote it down. I wrote 16-inch.
Yeah, it's at least this, it's a fairly sizable pine. You can, there's a picture there that I have of it too, so you can kind of see in that as
I
well.
would still consider it a younger tree, but it's not like the 25 poplars trees.
It's a healthy tree that with branches
Yeah,
that
it's
might
in
fall
vine
and
position.
there's an inconvenience with sap. I don't know, I'm just having, again,
Right.
disease trees are no brainers.
I mean, I get it, I have a pine, they're not great. I mean.
It's not like the pine's getting into the stormwater though, like that will be one thing, right? This is set back. So it's an inconvenience, but it's not necessarily having an impact on the town and the environment. If the house is set back this far.
Well, I think the tree is closer to the front. So the tree is not really close to their house at all. It is closer to the river road.
Can I just make a comment? It's nothing that is 100% guaranteed, but if a future ordinance were to be implemented based on the discussion revolving that ordinance, this gentleman could probably reapply and be able to take down this tree. There might be more of a string attached as far as what he needs to replace it with, but that's an option as well if the council would like to go in that direction.
Yeah, none of the trees I want to take down, I don't want to not replace. In fact, I want to improve the property and have trees that would have more longevity and more robust for the property to improve it.
Andrew, can we make the request that he work with us on this one white pine? Given where we know a potential recommendation is going to come, right? We can't make it based on an ordinance. The ordinance doesn't exist. So we can't make a decision based on the future ordinance, right? That doesn't exist. But is there a stipulation we can put that he can work with shade tree?
I mean, why not? I mean,
Or can we pause all applications?
I would say one of two things personally. We have a resident here that's looking to replace the trees he's taken down, improve his property, plant more trees, hopefully, than he's taken down. And I think he's been reasonable in his approach. Or option B, which still sort of accomplishes that as well, is you could deny his appeal pending a new ordinance coming in the near future, hopefully. And he could reappeal underneath the new ordinance and probably still achieve what he's trying to achieve as well. I would say those are the two best options based on what we're talking about here. You're gonna tell him to go to shade tree and negotiate. You don't know what he's replacing the other 7 trees he took down. So you're trading half a dozen of one for the other. And I think we're spending more time on it than we need to at this point.
But also, I know like when you get, the tree companies probably, to have them come back out to get rid of this one tree will ultimately probably cost him more money, is my guess. So,
I agree.
Now here, we're gaining trees. He's gonna
yeah,
Plant more than he's taking down. That's a win to me.
yeah.
I would favor his application.
I would too, because Mike, I like the way you did this. You were thoughtful, you did the process, you could see you were struggling with it, but it's because we're a tree-friendly town. And it sounds like you're a tree-friendly guy too, so you're in the right community, I'm glad you're here, thanks for doing it the right way, welcome to Fairhaven. And, I would make a motion to approve the request and move forward to the new landscape plans.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you, sir.
Great job,
Thank you.
Michael.
Can I make one
Thank you.
suggestion, Attorney Sobel, if you think about the new shade tree ordinance, and I know Brian is working on this too. You know, there's a huge accountability piece that's missing, right, from the ordinance, and so if there's an opportunity when we have an application that is approved.
Yeah.
If there's an opportunity to put language in the ordinance that, you know, says, the owner or the resident is going to, you know, plant these trees by X date or within certain amount of days for when the tree comes down, and provide the town with evidence, pictures, for whatever it might be. We only have one code enforcement officer. And trees are like,
I have to get it too much.
so, but I think like if we approve it, then the owner should be on the resident to provide evidence they actually did replant, because we don't know if they actually are. So,
Sure, Brian and I will work on making that.
I'd like that, and then.
I'm not going away, you're gonna take me.
Sherry, thank you as well.
Thanks, Sherry.
You're welcome.
Moving along, brush and leaf schedule and ordinance.
Yes. Do you want me to go in or you wanna? Thank you.
This is on here for workshop.
You guys don't have like a list of approved trees, do you, that we can plant?
Yes, I'll go to the, do you know how to get to the website? The Shade Tree Commission has a fantastic scroll through, got great.
So as long as I can do some of those trees, we're good.
Yeah,
Christy Larson's gonna send you a letter with all of this, and she can provide it.
All right, great.
That's nice of us.
Trees, not.
Anyway, before you this evening, a workshop is a draft ordinance that was put together off of input from a variety of sources. Most notable would be the Brush and Leaf Committee. Obviously, Rich Gardella, our code enforcement officer, and of course, I will say that Councilman LaBera did a lion's share of some of this work. In here, you'll see, you know, we were asked to comment on it. We did some small edits. You know, my thoughts on this, obviously, I want to double check the timing on putting out the Wednesday before, because I think it has more to do with the spring and fall cleanup as opposed to the containers. They should really go out the night before, just like we do trash. Allison had a comment on the section 10-5.7 for your consideration, and I spoke to Attorney Sobel before. I really think that this section that allows us to remove the brush and put a lien against the property for an infraction of this size is impractical. Putting getting someone to do it, assessing the fees, paying the fees, and putting a lien against the property is a lot of work for brush. I think the violations and penalties section in 16-5.14 below are enough of a disincentive for a person, you know, to follow the brush ordinance and to remove the brush if it's put out when it shouldn't be put out. And the rest is for you had a copy of it. I don't know if you had enough time to really think about it over the weekend, but you can open it up now and
Can
ask
I-
the attorney questions.
Yep, can I give a little more background for our newest members? So last year, the Brush and Leaf Committee met for 10 months, put together some total course of action based on resident engagement, a whole multitude of factors. You both were in the meeting on 18 December, where we did the level set. All of that information is available for the public in PowerPoint. The other one pager that everybody has. So Christina, who we've asked to join tonight, this is so we took the ordinance components that we've had 2 workshops on as a governing body previously. So Brian, Michael, you guys didn't have that, but that is what led to this one pager here of the ordinance components. This was based off of the workshop that governing body provided feedback, engineering DPW, communications, code enforcement, et cetera, to produce this. So this helps to distill down the common themes. A few things that will also be added and changed. So when we do leaf pickup, calling out that you can't throw out like a potted plant or like a balled up root system, because the farm won't accept it. Will be put into there. We will make it less confusing. The can only relates to brush, doesn't relate to leaves. So leaves in both bookends you put out, and then in rolling pickup, you just put it at the curb. We're gonna make a reference in here to the landscaper ordinance where landscapers have to be registered and whatnot. So one of the biggest comments that came out was like, hey, like what about landscapers? So that will go into here as well. And the other pieces I just want to hit, right, from like an ROI perspective. So in addition to how we're looking to increase services, we're also looking at reducing time by 67% by switching to this with brush. It gives back 8 business days a month where engineer and DPW can be focused and doing other priorities that they have in addition to this. On the grass clippings, a question came up not too long ago. So Monmouth County does accept grass clippings, which are a Class C recyclable. So we wanted to clarify that. So a little bit more background. The one pager to bridge from what we worked on over the course of 2 or 3 meetings, right, from a paper perspective to what is before you, and then a couple other tweaks that are already going to be made before the next government meeting.
But you're not looking to include grass clippings?
No.
Negative. No. We don't want to confuse. When we provide additional information to our residents and communication, we'll provide the means to dispose of grass clippings accordingly, but we're not looking to conflate and get confused with this.
How are we gonna communicate the changes?
So Michael and I had a great meeting with Borough Administrator Dr. Grande and Allison and Betty Ann last week, and this was like the main focus of the conversation. And we would like to, Betty Ann has put together an amazing visual calendar that outlines all the deadlines, all the pickup schedules, brush, leaf, everything, with detailed information on the back in terms of like what that actually means. We are going to work on a personalized letter, Michael and I, that'll go out to residents for summarizing exactly what Drew just said around how we came to this, what the highlights are, what you can expect, where the benefits are. And then we can do more. You know, we'll put out more communication online. We can do open houses if people feel like they need it. We're open to anything, but that was our original idea.
So, of course, I know what you're talking about. I have like 3 layers of contributions to talk about. I don't know how to get into it, but like a big picture, this could have a tremendous benefit. I'm particularly pleased with the idea that this program will keep our streets cleaner, therefore our storm system is going to be cleaner. It's going to help mitigate vulnerable areas that do flood, and it's going to keep the river clean. So big picture, this is a really good idea. The again, big picture, you know, the ordinance is here in front of us in draft form, which is talking about penalties and, you know, corrections. I feel like even if we were to adopt this next month, we're still not really ready. And I guess what I'm suggesting is that we talk about how to introduce the new program. And I think because it's going to affect every home and how each home functions and whose turn it is to take the can and what can and when, and, you know, there's just a big learning curve. So I'm going to just throw out the idea that maybe there's a year of communication, and maybe it's a year where the program gets put in place with every time that there would be a warning or a summons, because we're talking about some pretty stiff consequences. Maybe in that first year when we do roll out the programs, those that are not in compliance get a letter that says something along the lines, you know, this program will function this way, and if, you know, starting next year, this would be a fine. Or starting next year, this would be a summons you would have to appear before court. I'm just gonna suggest that, I think it's gonna take a really long time to metabolize this information. It took 10 months to come up with it. We're still workshopping it and, we're still working on the communications piece, which I know will be great when it's developed, but it takes, like, messaging is one of those things that, it's like a mantra, you have to beat the drum over and over and over and over and over again for it to sink in and become part of the daily household routine. So just gonna throw that out there for what it's worth,
Yeah.
to talk about it.
In terms of communication, what do you think?
Well, I thought that the visual calendar that, I think the letter is key.
Yeah.
Every household needs to get a letter. Well, we know, somebody puts it in the wrong place and dad doesn't get it, or it
Yeah.
just happens. So maybe it's more than one letter, but I think the thing in Fairhaven that works the best for communication is word of mouth. So we can create something that's very visual, that encapsulates the totality of the program and be able to share it readily from phones. That's how people uptake information and then share it with people.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
and I think that's the direction it's
Yeah.
headed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Can I just add one thing?
Mhm.
So the other data point, right, that's really important is back in the fall last year, we started the drumbeat messaging, and I forget the exact number with Brock, but I think there were 300 warnings maybe that went out, 400 warnings. It was hundreds of warnings with residents that weren't abiding by the ordinance, and it was a prelude to get folks ready. I'm with you on the grace period.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. My one item I'd want to talk with specifically on that, like from a communications perspective,
Yeah.
is the reason, right? And we talked on the enforcement pieces over the course of 3 meetings, governing body meetings. Remember, we were talking around $1,000, $500, $250, right? We ultimately landed based on the feedback from here.
Mhm.
And I go back to the residents who kind of blatantly ignore, right? And we go back to the anecdotes where they said, find me the X dollars, I don't care, I'll leave it out, right? And so I think if we can thread that needle to allow residents grace period to be educated, grace period to learn the new system and the process, but also kind of draw a line in the sand where we're not going to be taken advantage of. Because when you look at the streets now, they look great, right? There's nothing on there. They did an extra pickup the last week of December, and the streets look clean, and we want to keep that going.
There's a kind of social self-regulatory effect that happens when you become the only home on the street that's not following the rules. And your neighbors are following the rules, you're the only one that's not. And that, what kicks in is a little self-compliance, which is better than going to court. It's better than wasting an afternoon, and you know, it's not about the money, it's about the time, but it's also this other affecting, if we drip this information in properly, that other effect can help us too, because we all want the same thing, but getting there, we have to make it as painless as possible. Yeah, we all live together.
I'm in full agreement.
Yeah,
I don't know if we
drip on enforcement, not an implementation.
I'm thinking drip. Well, the communication piece, and I guess we'll have a sense of when that sinks in. But then in rolling out the program itself is gonna happen all at once, because I've looked at it, I don't know how you break it into components.
Yeah, okay.
And then in terms of enforcement, give it time, because I think when people will want to come into compliance, we don't have a town of, radical. This is a beautiful community, everybody cares about the same things, we want to clean streets, and if there's the folks that are sort of the last one to come along, they'll get the internal message. I really think before we have to start sending people to court. Or attaching a lien to their property, which is excessive.
It's excessive, and it's way too time consuming, for an infraction of this size, in my opinion.
Well, I agree with that.
Let me just be clear here. We have an ordinance, there's laws on the books. If we wanna, you can't make it a precedence of the mayor and council to say that we're going to just give people a grace period of 1 year. Because then what's the point of even putting any of this ordinance into law? Because then there's no penalty for doing anything, and so I wouldn't follow the laws. And I was a recipient of a warning letter, and guess what? I went out there, I hired my own professional to come take all this stuff off the street and remove it. But if we're gonna go into putting in this ordinance, which was well thought of, and as Councilwoman Koch, previously stated, for 10 or maybe Councilwoman Tomey, for 10 months, we've been discussing this and workshopping it, and then if we have no enforcement arm of the law, then it's pointless.
I think the 10
We're back
months,
in-
by the way, was the committee's work. We've been discussing it at workshop, it is our third workshop, right?
I think it's more than that. We've been talking about it since October.
There's gonna be some pain here.
No.
There's no doubt about it. There's gonna be some pain. And what I'd say is the old brush ordinance has been in place, seems like forever. And it's consistently violated by everyone. I don't see any of the, what do you call it, social peer pressure? I don't see any of that. I see people doing whatever they want to do, wherever they want to do it. And I think that's part of the reason where we're getting to this ordinance. Now, yes, I agree, there's gonna be some pain points here. There's people have been doing it the same way and following the rules for
Yeah.
years and years and years. That are gonna do something wrong and they're gonna get a warning or a fine, and it's gonna, it's not gonna be a fun moment for them. However, we need to balance in this discussion. That fact with the other fact, which is we're trying to improve a pain point on the entire town and make something better for the entire town, from an environmental standpoint, from a financial standpoint, as far as how much time and effort is put in from our staff, from an efficiency standpoint. So, there's no real, I've heard about the calendar. In some ways, it's a no-win situation. We gotta make a decision on what's best for the town. I think what's best for the town is we give this a shot and see how this thing works. A lot of time and effort was put into it. And
How much of a window do you think is appropriate? Like if you were gonna introduce a new house rule. And the new house rules, everybody's gonna have to change like 6 or 7 things in the way they function. But the new house rule is gonna start, how much grace would you allow? What period of time would you allow for everybody to learn the new rule?
well, that gentleman was just here for a tree appeal. He just moved in 3 months ago and he's following the rule. I mean, I'm not sure why it would be any different for all the residents in town. We change a rule. It is our job to educate them. We need to educate the residents, and that's on us, and we have to do it properly, no doubt about it. But, just because, we're implementing a rule, I don't know about this.
Do you want to take the lien provision out and add for first offense, it would be a warning? And then for second offense, it'd be the, 200, and then it go right up, instead of having A, B, and C, you'd have A, B, C, and D.
So I'm fine with that. My only issue there is the brush and leaf committee. I specifically, and maybe you can opine on it, had specifically said that the thing that people value is their time. So now you're talking about the time isn't taken away until offense number 3. I don't know if that seems like it's too far out.
I have a recommendation, Mayor.
Okay,
Instead of changing the violations and penalties, what we can do is we can do a notice of violation for the first offense. So it'd be a notice of violation goes out, where do they put it, like those little yellow
Yeah.
pieces of paper? So it'd be a notice of violation would be issued. And they would have a date of compliance for the first offense only. And then any other violation after that would be the second, third, and any other subsequent, offense dates.
Fine and court appearance.
Right. So what I'm saying is for the first offense, there would be a notice of violation issued by the code enforcement officer. And then they would have that 7 or 10 days to remove it. If they don't remove it within that time period, then they get issued the first offense.
Can I say something? I think that that's already written into the draft agreement. We do have a notice provision that gives them 10 days to cure.
Always, like.
So the way that
it's.
So the way that it's
Mhm.
structured now is basically the code enforcement officer would issue a notice to the tenant. It's my opinion that we should change the way the notice is served. However, but that notice requirement does give the resident 10 days to cure the issue. If not, code enforcement would then, issue an actual violation.
But
That's
that's under 16-5.12A.
Yeah.
But what I'm thinking of Christina, is that it would only be for the first offense. To give them the grace, because.
Okay,
any
I understand what you're
subsequent
saying.
After the first would not be considered a warning notice.
If
So
they,
you
would
only
be
get
for the-
one notice and one warning.
Yes,
if they fix it before the 10 days.
then they would not be
The
issued.
next-
Then they cure.
The next,
and
the
then
next,
nothing.
the next time they get a notice, is it another warning to fix in 10
Yes,
days?
it would be, because that
Well-
would not, due process.
So it's.
And
it
that's
doesn't
what I
give
think
you
we're
seven
talking about
offenses unless
now,
they
to
don't
change
cure
that.
At least a single time in the first.
Right.
I don't think we're gonna change behavior by giving all these warnings. I think we have to rip the Band-Aid off. I really do.
So that's what I'm saying, just that one initial notice. And then if they comply, but then a second offense, it wouldn't be considered a second offense, remember, because there would be no first offense, because they already cured within that 10-day period.
I kind of like it, and my thought process on it is we might be able to achieve what Councilman Cole is talking about also by doing this. If we then, if you're concerned about ripping the Band-Aid, we could come back a year from now and pull that part of the ordinance
No,
out.
That's true. I'm just
So that,
a lot of
that
work
first
on-
year, it achieves what you want, sort of that,
I want the
that
learning.
grace, yeah.
Because the warning, before there's a notice of violation, like right now, what Brock is doing is issuing warnings. But what really should come with the warning is the communication piece. Like, what does the program look like? And here's what you can expect. This one pager that, you know, is nearly complete, but that way you're getting the warning and this is what's expected of it. Right now, people don't even know what's expected of them.
Well, that's the thing, and I think with the notice, they're still rectifying the problem.
Correct.
So we're at least getting what we need to. So if they don't, so they're getting the notice, they're fixing the problem. And then they have it, and then they've learned what the issue is anyway.
Well, I'm suggesting you also get the information.
But Councilman Cole, the problem with that is what the way I read, the way I believe he sends it out is he just basically puts it in your mailbox, the
Correct.
violation. So we would almost be requiring for him to have a stack of, informational pieces.
Yes, it is. That's what I'm suggesting.
Okay.
If we really want to bring people along and we want to make sure the new program is successful, everybody's gonna have to learn something completely new.
So they
And we
get,
can't,
they get,
We-
they get the information, right?
There's so much
We could
competition.
also just put on that citation or that warning notice that direct them to the borough's website where this is all published online so that they can see what their requirements are and
So-
access that page paper.
So Christina, the reason I like what we're talking about is,
Maybe we should wait until the conversation's over, like in here.
I'll speak when it's my turn.
just the one thing, and then I'll turn over to Councilman Koch. The reason I like that is because it solves what Councilman Cole's talking about. It solves residents looking at us saying, "Now I'll leave it out to the next pickup, I don't care." Right? And then if they leave it out, then they'll get hit the second time. So I think that's a good improvement.
Brock's also a very good communicator.
It is.
he is.
So
Okay, so just to clarify, we want to change the current draft to reflect a notice for the first time, and then if it's not rectified or it's the same resident does or violates the ordinance a second time, then that is when they will get a citation?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have some other feedback too that I received. I'll send it your way.
I think we're still processing that, Christina. Because
Okay.
I don't think we have fully unpacked all that, because we're talking about, I don't know exactly what everybody's talking about, but we know there's a notice mechanism that's currently in place, which is a perfect time to provide communication about the new program and what's expected, right? Separate from this ordinance, that's currently happening. So we're calling that a notice. When Brock, is that called a notice?
I'm
or is that called
specifically-
a warning.
I'm specifically referring to section 16-5.12 of the draft ordinance.
I know you need that from us tonight, but.
But I know that
also-
you're speaking of, just an information
Correct.
As of
pamphlet
now,
or
the
letter.
first offense is a warning. It's at the top of the ordinance. The first offense is warning, second offense is $100, third offense is a court appearance.
So the warning is.
A notice of violation.
A notice of violation, so.
What we do as of
write
today.
that right out of the gate. All right, but nobody nobody has the new information yet. Nobody knows what's expected yet.
Yeah, yes.
No, we don't know.
But
It's not.
this is the part, this is the part,
That's the communication plan.
that's what I'm called. This is the part I'm not understanding, right? If I were to get a speeding ticket tomorrow and they give me a notice violation, they said, Mayor Halpern, you can go back to that street and drive the normal miles per hour, and that will cure your violation. I would do that. That's a very simple thing to do.
But
So,
wouldn't it be better for you to have in advance?
to know what the speed limit is?
Yeah.
I'm going to. If I don't listen, it's on me.
But we can't,
We haven't given them anything.
I know that, but we're obviously gonna make that, we have to educate the public, and that's the part that's on us, and
I know.
we're not going to 100% succeed, because we've been there before trying to educate the public on different things, and not everyone always knows every single thing in detail about what we're trying to achieve as a borough, but we're gonna try to get to as many people as we possibly can to let them know, and for the people that don't know or don't care, they still will have this 10-day built-in
Exactly.
cure process. So that, and I think 10 days is fair, because for the people doing it themselves, you gotta figure that within 10 days, whether it's a weekend or, you know, it's at nighttime, that they're gonna be able to do it. And also it seems like enough time to get your landscaper back as well, if you made a mistake, and have them report it.
I think of this program as, it's a whole year. We're talking about something that begins in the spring
Yeah.
and it ends in December.
Yes.
If we, people need to see that and understand it and comprehend how that changes all their behavior at home. It's,
Isn't it in the municipal calendar? I
Well,
mean, just a sneak.
what I'm saying is, I think we need a period of months for
yeah,
that
I
information.
think we're talking past each other. We agree with that, right? Because the way the process works
So-
is we have to have an ordinance to communicate on, right? Like, we wouldn't articulate, I mean, one, we've been talking about the brush and leaf in the governing body meetings, I think, since October, right? And we talked about it initially in the beginning of the year. So the way the process, and we've been doing things in parallel because we don't want to hit a supply chain issue and we want to make this successful starting in May, because nothing changes until May, right? If anything, folks can have more time for their standard pickup in April of brush and leaf, the way they normally do today. So the way the process is, and what we've been working on with communications to include last year,
Yep.
is that workshop, introduce, adopt. Once it's adopted and it's the law, from there, then start the communication process. So if we follow that schedule, right, and it's introduced next meeting, adopted 22 Feb, I'm just putting this out there. Then that gives us all of March and all of April to start the communication on this, and then continue with that drumbeat messaging. I'm in agreement with
You
you.
can do a video. Betsy could be the face. She's the
I-
face of the ordinance anyway.
I don't even understand what it is, so you have to give me the script. I guess what I'm suggesting is I'm suggesting this program to be communicated before we have a law.
Well, that's what, so why can't we, I think we can,
No,
so.
you're not gonna adopt the ordinance, why would you communicate?
No,
Well,
well, if you
I
can
think she's-
communicate the program and the rhythm of what's gonna be picked up, what was observed and what doesn't.
But we have,
Well, and I think,
we know we did, we did the whole presentation, we had the
But people
buzz.
don't watch
They don't
this.
have that.
No, hang on, I'm not saying that people don't watch this, right? Like, hang on, we are countering everything that we believed in last year with all of facilities for a hot minute, right? So let's back up, right? We spoke about it, had the committee, started coming back to workshopping in October, and then provided multiple briefs, then there were questions on it, and we did a level set email, and then created a whole section on the website with the PowerPoint, the surveys, the ordinance components, and been pointing all of our residents there. So I don't want there to be this misunderstanding.
Like we're springing it up.
We're right, like,
Not springing it up.
if anything, we've shared more and more information, and I think we need to continue doing so. I think we need to continue communicating, continue educating. But this is not springing on anyone, and we have been more than transparent through last year, right? And I say we continue that.
For sure, I wasn't suggesting you're not transparent, I think that the full program as we conceive it has not been. Even though we've been talking about it in parts and talking about it the whole time, you're right, you are absolutely right. But the program in a distilled, easily understand, it's a marketing piece, this is an operational marketing piece that explains what's gonna happen.
Can I
We're on
ask-
the verge of it.
Can I ask a question? So we said we would send out personalized mailings to every single resident in Down, accompanied with the calendar or personalized memo. We also said we would create a PDF, right? So we can share it on our phones. It'll go on social media, it'll go on the Fairhaven Borough website, it'll go in Buzz. What are we missing? Because
Those are the components.
right,
Yeah.
that's what
Well, we
we're.
don't have it yet.
But can we do,
have it.
no, it's ready to go.
It's, yeah, we do have it.
We just have to write the back piece of it. We corrected
Yeah,
the
that's what I'm
calendar.
confused.
The back piece,
Because I
and
was part of it, but I haven't seen it in Final Form. Maybe that's one of
So,
the things I asked.
there might
for.
be a piece, I can show you part of it, but the back side of it is going to be a real breakdown, even we talked about even having a definition of what brush is, because I think there are
Sure.
pieces of this that we don't, people still don't know what brush is, you know, and I can say the same. So, but my question is, can we, I don't see there, I know we're not adopting the ordinance till the end of February. I don't see a reason why we can't get the word out about what this is, starting in the next 2 weeks. Is that a problem, do you think? You look a little,
I just want to make sure it's something that we have, so it gets to the week details.
oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Also, we could have an event, guys, too, an open house on a Saturday and, you know, in the parking lot of Fairhaven Hardware with, show people what brush looks like, show them what leaves look like, have the can, have a calendar, right? Betsy could be there.
Is there a process by which we could waive a fine if somebody does violate, let's say they have a legitimate reason they were, you know.
No, once it's written by ordinance, you know.
Yeah, they
you
can
have
go
to
to
follow
court
the
to
ordinance.
plead their case.
The only person that has discretion, I would believe, would be a judge when he wants to court for some reason.
Okay.
That's really an
So
instance.
not here or.
You know, it speaks to pick and choosing who you're gonna waive it to and who you're not. You have to be consistent in how you.
It's
enforce it.
like the tree ordinance, you know, or the tree removals, there's a process.
I don't, Andrew, you can jump in here if you so desire. He's looking to see if there's a way we could waive the fine, sort of like they could appeal to the governing body like they did in the tree ordinance. I don't think.
They'd have to go to court. Ultimately, they go to court. If they have extenuating circumstances, they argue their case in front of Judge Lucas.
And I just want to come back to one thing, and then I want to remember Councilman. Is the expectation that everything that the communications committee is doing is going to bring it to the governing body to approve it first? Or were you guys taking the direction, information out of the ordinance and then going with it as a committee?
That we would share a draft.
Yeah, no, we share it with you guys definitely before, especially you.
No, like as an approval?
I don't think it needs to be a formal process, but I think it's nice to share.
Yeah.
amongst
Okay.
the-
I just want to make sure, like, whether it's saying it's formal is different than collaborating and sharing, right? Like,
Yeah, I would say it's not a formal approval.
Right.
But it's
But
key to the success.
use your judgment on.
Yeah, no, we
sharing.
wouldn't,
Similar to what we did with the Borough share post. Everyone's welcome to provide their feedback.
just to confirm though, we wouldn't be able to send out this communication, or we're not thinking it would be a good idea to send it out before we adopt the ordinance.
Correct.
Let's see, that's the piece that I didn't.
That's where I think.
And
we're stuck.
I'm not even sure I fully agree, but I'm gonna just move with that and,
But we do have time,
let's,
because it's
good,
not,
okay.
let's let Councilman Cole, Koch.
Oh, God.
I just, before I go on, you said correct the calendar. Would you have to change the calendar as it was presented to the residents?
not corrected, sorry, the way it was presented, it highlighted the days that the pickups, the 2 weeks that the pickup would be, so it looked like we had 2 weeks to put it out, so we just wanted to make the highlight, the piece, the 2 weeks that we
Is this
actually.
the one pager?
This is the one page.
This is the one pager, this is not the
It's
new.
not in the
not the
No, it's not in the
calendar.
calendar. There's no incorrect information. It was just the way we were presenting it. We thought could be clearer.
There's a one pager document that has the calendar in it that they're enhancing, it's not.
Well, we don't have that.
No,
No.
that hasn't been sent out.
I'll get that to
But
you.
I think that'll help when.
I agree.
when it happens.
So, I personally don't feel that this ordinance is ready to be introduced because, and we spoke with it today. There are subsection X's that you said needed to be filled in. I really would like to see what those are before we actually introduce the ordinance. I have concerns about rolling leaf pickup, that the leaves are gonna be out on the street. They could be out on the street for a few weeks in November and December. One of our goals is to reduce the amount of debris that flows into our catch basins. leaving the, in the past, you would put your leaves out on, say, Sunday, and they would be picked up during the week. Now we have the opportunity to leave the leaves out for as long as we want until they're picked up, actually, right? You can put them out
The only
in November.
just, I'd like to hear from Rich on how often that rolling leaf pickup
Right,
is.
we don't know that.
But the other side of that is, I also don't think that's what was happening. I don't think people are putting out the leaves on Sunday and they're getting picked up on Wednesday. I didn't leave somebody straight for like 4 weeks.
That's what got us here, but ideally, that was the way the ordinance was presented.
I just don't think that was happening.
You're
So
talking,
I care about what's happening, so if this can improve the conditions of our streets, that'd be a good thing, and that's why I'd like to hear how often the rolling pickup is.
Right.
it's an
We don't
operational
know that.
management.
We don't know that.
We don't know.
Rich is very comfortable and confident that they can manage it at DPW by assessing where, first of all, where the most traveled routes are. They pay more attention to certain streets than they do to others, for obvious reasons, routes to schools and main thoroughfares. And also, some of the larger properties that put out a tremendous amount of leaves, the guys are aware of that. They see it, they're driving by, they know where they want to hit, key spots as opposed to, just taking the route of, what would be a zone before, so, I mean, we talked about this at great length and Rich was very confident that they could do a much better job managing it themselves and deciding where the crews go as opposed to, people following the zones.
Did you?
Yeah, I do, actually. The way I read this, it looks like leaves are picked up in the spring cleanup and the fall cleanup, correct?
Yes.
And then in November and December.
And then it goes to rolling November, December.
Right.
Correct,
So those are the only times during the year that the leaves are picked up.
correct.
And they're not picked up in a container, they're picked up
On the curb.
on the curb.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The brush, on the other hand, will be picked up in both spring and fall cleanup.
Yep, like we normally do now, put it to the curb.
And then containerized
May to September.
May to September.
Yep.
Okay, I needed to be clear on that. And another question I have is under violations and penalties. So we just discussed that. We talked about notice without any financial penalty. So are these violations and penalties per incident? Or are they like if you do this 2 or 3 times? So you put your leaves out too early, or you put your trash can, or whatever the infringement is. So there's a first offense, second offense, third offense. So every pickup or every collection, is it a reset on the penalty?
It has to, from a due process perspective by law. We can't make it I can't use that word, cumulative. Thank you. So if I did 4 one-time offenses, is it 4 one time, or by that point, am I
Right.
the 4th offense and off the chart? What I understand from a due process perspective, every incident has to be treated.
So it's a reset
It has to-
every
Yeah,
election cycle.
yes.
Okay. All right, I think
Yeah.
that's it.
So Christina, what I would like to do, and May, if you're okay with it, I have some additional feedback, right, from Councilwoman Koch that we circled up. We have Allison's feedback, Teresa's. I would like to update the subsections, and I'd like to sit down with Councilwoman Koch, go through all the other feedback that she gave me. We talked about all of it today. And then we'll send out an updated to the team. Christina, can you and I work on that the next couple of days and get it out?
Of course.
Couple of quick things. I know you were wrapping up, but I didn't finish a definition for acts of nature, because I know you touched on the tactic. No.
Okay, got it. Yeah, name storm, but yes.
Between May and September, that could occur,
Yep.
which of course suspend all the rules and change.
That's my bad. I forgot.
No, you're not supposed to. I ordinance it. And then we toggle in the language in this draft between gray and green. I'm just gonna suggest we stop calling it a color, call it the brush can until it should just be called the brush can, simplified.
Check.
That's a suggestion.
I just want to make sure we pick an actual color.
I know
So we
that.
don't have different colors.
So
OCD.
We'll have it at
we
some
picked,
point, right?
so we picked, well, we all agreed on gray. This was at either the 18th meeting or the one in November, I can't remember, 18th, we agreed on gray. And the reason we agreed on gray is because it comes with and without wheels, and the wheels piece was extremely important for those residents that need that flexibility. And then it also allows some variations in expense. So there's different ends of the spectrum where it's, you know, I'm not gonna give a number, I'll have the numbers now that we're moving in the direction. I'll get it from Fairhaven Hardware with from least to greatest. But it is gray.
Okay, that's fine, I mean, on page 3, in the section,
Page 3.
it's the last word, it's a definition of street. Gutters, curbs, sidewalks, parking areas. I mean, it don't say bike lanes, but I think it's implied, but we just insert bike lanes and other areas within street lines.
Christina, did we address the bike paths and the parking lots in here specifically? Do we need to add a definition to them?
No definition, it's just in the definition of street.
I can add bike lanes to the definition of street, but we do I believe in, let me find it.
That was a big thing that we talked about.
Where it says the section of the placement of the brush or leaves.
Check.
Yeah,
No more than 3 feet from the curb, or if there's no curb, then no more than 3 feet where the roadway begins.
yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Maybe this is a question under brush only pickup. This is section B of 16-5.5. First item, the borough will collect trash 2 times each month. I think it's 2 times per zone each month. Would that be more accurate?
We can write that, yeah.
Okay.
You got that, B, 16-5.5 BI.
This actually.
Yes, I'm taking notes.
Mentioning it, okay.
It's a good discernment.
Leaves only pickup section. I don't know how important this is. Leaves must be free of sticks, branches, trees, tree parts, rocks, vines. Farm materials, do you want to put vegetative waste in here to make it clear? That's.
I had that, there was a discussion of vegetative waste, to be reconciled with the pamphlet or the calendar that's going out, and on there it has vegetative waste not included. So I took it out.
Okay.
I
If it's
added
clear,
back in.
fine.
I think
And
it's
we're
just
also
an issue of what we're gonna define vegetative waste as then at that point.
Which will come in the communication of the program.
Correct.
Yeah,
The other thing that we're adding there too, just because you're on it, no potted plants, no rooted systems,
Yes,
right? That's
so-
not part of it because the farm can't grind it up.
yeah. So,
No sod is another one.
Maybe we summarize all of this would be helpful in like email if we all have feedback. I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, I've been keeping track of what everybody said, so I don't mind compiling it, making sure it's good and I don't miss anything. Give it to Christina, do an update, we'll shoot it out, we'll sit down with you.
one last thing from me, and I'll get out of the weeds. Under prohibited conduct 16-5.8. Item B, residents shall not place brush and leaves in plastic or paper bags. And my only question about this has to do with residents live on River Road. And they're already going to be keeping their cans pretty much on their private property in order to be in compliance with the way this is written, which is fine. I just wonder if we want to give them the option of bagging.
So
Did it get discussed?
it did,
Okay.
so if the county was picking up on River Road, the county allows to pick up in bags. That's the actual like legal law. When we pick it up, our farm doesn't accept bags.
Wouldn't we just dump the leaves out of the bag?
I mean,
I mean, where are they gonna put their leaves? That's a very practical matter. As it can't go on the sidewalk, can't go in the planted median strip, you can't go in the bike lane. They're gonna leave a pile of leaves on their private property. And it can't go in the parking spaces. It can't go in the parking spaces.
let us take it away.
Yeah.
So I have a question about the bags. Does the county, does the county have extra pickup times also for River Road?
There's no service.
So why are we saying though that they can be in bags if the county's picking them up?
Because the county accept bags, that's what the
So there's no extra pickup times,
No.
it's just, okay.
That's why that was originally in there. We wanted to figure out why that language is included. It's the same reason why like grass clippings weren't allowed.
Yeah.
That has since changed, right? So grass clippings you can bring to like the Monmouth County, one of the
But it's
areas.
not like there's another
No.
additional pickups.
The county doesn't do any additional pickups. So there was some conflation there in the ordinance and quite frankly, it's confusion, but it reveals a pain point.
Yeah.
Which is, hey, if we're protecting the bike lanes, we're protecting the parking spaces, what do the residents do that don't have a place to put it in front? And they haven't. I think that's a really great thing to raise.
So what is the solution?
I'm gonna take it away and I'll talk to Christina and we'll look what the other towns do.
Okay.
Can I just interject in the original 16(5)(1), that was crossed out, it says brush and leaves shall not be placed in plastic bags or other type of containers except the properties on River Road. Piles of brush and leaves shall not obstruct pedestrian, bicycle, or vehicular travel lanes. So our present ordinance allows bags to be put on River Road.
Correct. It does, yes, that's correct.
But I don't think many people back.
I haven't, yeah.
I doubt it, but it's still
I think
there.
one of the things that Rich brought forward is that's a perfect example. That's a road that they're going to pay attention to on an ongoing basis. So they'll get more pickup on that to keep the bike lanes clear, to keep the parking spaces clear. You know, that's part of them managing the whole leaf pickup situation.
And we have the manpower to do all this.
They're comfortable and confident that they'll do a better job in this way than they did in the zone.
You gotta remember, out of the week, when they do a brush pickup, they're spending at minimum 4 business days to go through the zone. So they bring out machinery, they take a whole 4 days. So the thought process is if there's greater flexibility in the operational management pickup. They're not gonna be spending 4 business days per zone. They're gonna be going across town where they need to, similar to what they did the last week of December, right?
Right.
So,
With the same equipment. They're really bringing out the same equipment to do this.
yeah, I mean, at scale, right? Like that, absolutely. But what they did the last week is they did the entire town that week. Because there was so much brush and leaf. I'm not supposed to publicize it, but I'm gonna articulate it, right? Because I think it's a relevant point as far as they did the entire town in 1 week. And that because they had the operational flexibility to move from zones 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, zones A, B, C are gone, right?
Yeah,
And we're in
right,
the city,
1
so.
through 4.
Correct, so they're able to go through, so if you have 4 zones, and you're going from 4 days a week per zone. Down to this rolling, it gives you far greater efficiencies from an employee manpower perspective.
My closing share would be, I think we should do all of this with an eye towards learning. And know that we'll debug it as we go if we need to, right?
Agreed.
All right, thank you. Moving along. Waited so patiently. The proposed farmers market. Whoa. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm gonna stay on. I'm just gonna turn my camera off, so.
Hi. Hi. I have a few updates. We have our short list of things to go through. Oh, okay. Diana Antonin, 92 Baton Road, Fairhaven. Elise Casey, 263 Fairhaven Road. Maggie Ledman, 53 Lewis Point Road. So we had a short list of things to go through with everyone. We sent a pre-read to a few of the council members and the mayor, just to give you guys some collateral that we were working on. These are our bylaws. So I'll start with a few things that we were working on in the interim.
We did a few bookkeeping things. So we have a certificate of incorporation. We are a nonprofit 501c4.
1 second.
Oh,
501c4.
yeah.
Is that better than a C3?
Yeah.
We just don't qualify.
The answer is yes.
One step better.
Oh, everybody's better.
Yeah, we didn't want the
The stigma of being.
yeah, being totally upset with secret. No, it just, right now, it's not the move for us. It would have taken years to incorporate it. So this was a quick, but now the 3 of us are I believe, the legal entity in charge. So if we are to ever pass it along. We just find a new group of people to transfer it to, so.
And by doing that, we received an EIN, so we have opened a bank account at Lakeland and Fairhaven for a small business account, so we now have the ability to pay someone or accept money. And then we don't officially have insurance yet, but we are in touch with, Couch Braun Store Insurance Group. And they have told us it'll be about $2,000 for the entire year of coverage, which is very affordable based on what we're planning to charge our vendors. And they wanted us to check with you guys if $1 million of coverage is appropriate. That's what they.
That's typical.
That's right, and also that's consistent with the other markets in the area, so the $1 million.
So I'm just gonna interject real quick. All these documents that you're talking about, a certificate of incorporation, any of the nonprofit documents and the insurance documents that you can provide to me, and I can, talk to our insurance carrier as well.
Yeah, I agree. So that was some of the housekeeping things that we needed to get done, so those are completed. We can circle back with you guys this week once we do get the confirmation about the insurance. And then a lot of the conversation we had was surrounding our small business district to make sure that the market directly influences and works with them closely. So we've been doing some canvassing.
And then the last page in the packet are the proposed dates. So we wanted to have you guys take a look at those first before we circulate it to them, but we've hit almost every store. We've been going door to door, store to store, and we've hit almost all of them. They're all really enthusiastic, and we've stressed the importance of connecting us to businesses. Like we're making it very clear that there's be foot traffic between the two. And but if those dates are okay with you guys, then we'll circulate them to them.
So we have two separate options for the town. For small businesses in Fairhaven, they would be charged the regular application fee to apply to be a vendor, but their booth would be covered. It would be zeroed out. So whereas other vendors that are not in Fairhaven would be charged $40. Any of the stores in town, if they would like to create a satellite, it would be at $0. $25 application, $0 for the year. That would be the small business. You're also thinking about doing a small business, almost like a consortium for any local small mom and pop shops that don't have a brick and mortar. They want to sell, whatever that is that they are doing, kind of out of their house. That would be something that we would offer people there. So two separate wings there, same understanding of $0, so that we could bring people, their neighbors, their families, get some more foot traffic into the town and encourage people to come. So that's how we're looking at branching the small business aspect. And we provided you with our bylaws. Something that we've been finding in our research with other markets is establishing a really, this is a work in progress, establishing a really finite group of bylaws so that there's no deviation from it. It gives you, it puts you on the right foot and makes sure that all of your vendors are upholding that. It's important for us to put that foot right forward so that they can, and we can. It's a mutual contract that we have to represent the town well, and they need to come to our town and be held accountable for what they're bringing. So simple things like they need weights on everybody needs a tent, they need weights on their tent. If you don't have weights on your tent, you have to go. That's for the safety of the town. There are no dogs, we are, it's just a liability to the town. It's, we would love to have everybody bring their dog. I have a dog, it comes with me everywhere, but I don't want anyone to not go to the market because of dogs. So these are really just like a standard procedure that we can kind of tailor, give feedback on, and I'm more than happy to take it, same with you guys, but we just want to make sure that this is incorporated in the agreements that all of the vendors do sign with us so that they understand what's expected of them, and any deviation will result in an elimination of the agreement. We're not cutting corners or something like that. So what else do we have? Yes, Teresa, we want to have a meeting with you directly to talk about public works and figure out, the support there that we need from the town on that. We can kind of schedule a time or date that works well with you so that we can go through it.
She's wild.
I'll tell you right now, one of the major issues going to be is that the DPW by contract are allowed to take payment for overtime or comp time. And they will choose comp time, and that becomes very problematic for the borough, because there's no way for us to get the money from you. And it greatly impacts the amount of time on task our guys have if they accrue comp time for working all these farmers markets. So that'll be a hurdle we have to.
But I would suggest honestly, if you had an operational meeting with this crew, they're very creative. And maybe they can find an alternative way of delivering at the level they want to see this happen. In ways that maybe doesn't over obligate the DPW.
Yeah.
But by exploring those operational things with you, because you'll have the best view, insight. As to
Yeah, and
what
also
positions are going to do.
we've talked a lot about the requirements and what it's gonna be, you know, we can speculate about the foot traffic and we can hope that it's gonna be a ton, and I think that we do. I don't know how much garbage this is going to accumulate. I can't give you a metric. I can't have a read on it. I don't know how many garbage cans to request. I will bring contractor bags myself, and after the first market, we can reassess, but these are the things that we're going to have to learn. And I don't think that we should snub the idea for the unknown that these are presenting. I think that if we can all work really well together and figure out a solution to it, that's the best case, but I can't give you like, I think that we should have 8 garbage cans and they're all gonna be full. It might be 20. I don't think that that's gonna be what it is, but we won't know until we cross that bridge. So I hope that we can kind of work together and figure out a way to make it, you know, as seamless as possible.
And we don't pick up our own trash.
This would coincide with a new contract that we're going to have anyway with sanitation, right? Like the start of the farmer's market.
At some point, we might be able to put that in bid specs.
Okay.
So
But it'll.
We'll figure out the practical considerations that we have to.
totally,
What are the hours that the market's gonna be?
pardon me?
The hours of day?
It's 9 to 1, so it's a 4-hour stretch. Our vendors are required to stay the whole time, so that would limit any, you know, traffic going in and out of the market. On that note,
So chief.
it's here.
We met and talked about it. If, my understanding, they want to do it on Willow Street, right? So the only stipulation I said that it's a one-way, they would have to hire a police officer to be there, because the road will be closed, and allow people to go back on the same way. We did the same thing years ago when the school was being built, because that road for 6-7 months, maybe. So it doesn't work, and I think it would work. But that would be the only thing I'd say, that if they want to do that on Willow, you have to have somebody there. Roads actually closed, we could put some barricade down and stuff, so if they decide to do it there and it's approved by you, I don't see any issue.
But wouldn't there be a cost associated with that, chief?
Yeah, they know.
Yeah, we know.
You
It's
guys
very-
are like, you guys,
I'll do great.
and you guys are considering this, when charging $30 per month. It might be difficult, you know, to pay for, you know, public school officers.
I still think
$4.
you should charge more.
I understand that.
I'm
So-
on the record.
The reasoning behind the pricing and the calculations make sense. Right now, we have 15 to 18 confirmed vendors at $40 a month. Will put us above the, it's $100 an hour for a 4-hour minimum. That would put us above what the police officers, what we would need to cover the expense of a police officer. We can't do higher than that because we have people like the butcher block that have confirmed $100 to the butcher block. If we were to do that price is 1 fillet, but $100 to a farmer, and we have 3 farms right now, that's bushels and bushels of tomatoes and all of the things that they would sell. If they made $400, they're not recouping as much as they would if they were to spend $100 just to get to our market. It just doesn't make sense economically for them. So we want to support these 3 farms that we have, Sickles, we have a few other farms, one in Abasink and one out west near Forest Neck. We don't want to alienate them because of the price. We will
I've
always-
bought tomatoes and signals, so I'm not sure that that's accurate. That's all.
You're on
I'm just letting you know.
But we have to make it equitable for all these vendors, so that's a price point that works well with them. We can reassess this even mid-year. We can't go into this market and say, you're gonna get all this foot traffic, we're gonna need 1 billion garbage cans. We have to be very nimble in how we're going to handle this, because it's a lot of unknowns. So we can't go to these people and say, you're gonna get all of Fairhaven to come, here's, you pay us $100, and then what? What if they don't? So it's just not the right way to put it
No,
out there.
I understand. I mean, listen, you know, coming into tonight, I was skeptical that this would work. I think you guys have definitely done a lot of great things, incorporating, you know, registering for that, you know, the nonprofit status, the insurance is huge. I mean, that was my biggest concern. Just, obviously protecting the borough. I obviously live here, right? So I obviously want this farmer's market. I think it's great for the town. But at the same time, we have a job to protect and to make sure that all of the residents are served. So I think, if we could work with Chief and we'll, we could work with Teresa and Rich about DPW, because dumpsters, and I guess you guys are eliminated, so this would be in the street of Willow, because I know last time you guys were here, we were discussing the park. You guys were discussing the park as an option.
That was a
after
resident,
that.
it was a resident that called.
Yeah,
us.
resident.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
The street of Willow, like I said in my email, it's up to you guys whether or not you wanna put this in the park or if you wanna keep it on Willow. I think closing Willow down from 9 to 1, one Saturday a month is not going to be a massive upheaval.
The
on anyone's
only
lives.
advantage to moving into the park is that it opens up a lot of parking.
Yeah.
Sure,
And if you don't have the parking that's now available on Willow, people are gonna be parking in neighborhoods and they'll be looking for parking on River Road or Fairhaven Road. And I think it would be a good idea to move it into the park.
I hope people come by bike
Maybe-
and walk.
Maybe
Well, I do too, but
maybe
there's-
them parking on River Road is a good thing though. Now
Exactly.
maybe they're going into our businesses and spending money on business.
The Parks and Recs Department is the first place we started, and it didn't seem like they had the bandwidth to house it, so I don't know.
It's an interesting idea, but I'm thinking more along the lines of the first one we do in the street and see how it goes.
Well,
And if
that's
for some
true. We
reason it
can
doesn't
always-
go well, we could always move it.
I also have concerns about the maintenance of the park. There's a lot of tents and foot traffic and all of that.
Grass. and-
We get a few chances to rest that park when the kids aren't on it, and a lot of when this is going on will be during that time, and I'd like to see the park stay rested if we could have.
Can I ask a few questions?
Sure.
Andrew and Teresa, with the way that they established it, can community appeal, can they be set up so they can get donations through community appeal?
Won't happen.
I don't have anything to do with community appeal.
What, can someone educate me,
Yeah,
like?
the community appeal is very protective of their organization and other organizations have tried to get into community appeal and they feel it would dilute
Got it.
the contributions that people are already making to the established members of
Perfect.
community appeal.
Okay, that's helpful. A couple of recommendations in the bylaws, I think having like a matrix of eligibility would be great to remove like further ambiguity, like locally grown. Well, there could be things that are locally grown in California, but not in New Jersey. So if
yeah,
somebody has-
the term should be specific.
Yeah, I think just the matrix, this way whoever looks at it can have a consistent approach. I think including stall breakdown in the bylaws and kind of the expectation, you call out stall setup, which I love and display. I think specifically calling down with breakdown and that they're gonna leave the site as when they got there.
Yep.
And then, in the spirit of the conversation before, can I, and we have a brush and leaf table every Saturday to educate?
Yes,
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Right, yeah.
For $40.
Josh asked me to raise that because he'll be there every Saturday and the fancy comes over, so.
Another meeting.
Anytime.
There's a dunk tank.
Retirement is nice.
There's a quick breakdown, and I'm a product of. So excuse me if this is wrong, I'm a public school math girl, but at $15, at 15 vendors. We're gonna be at 8 months, we're gonna be 48,000, 20, which we hope to have, will be 800 at 8 times a month, 8 times a year is 6,400. So that's really our sweet spot. We've done the math with them, it's 3,200 all in. Insurance, like we mentioned the last meeting, this is we're not profiting from this. Anything that we have will go back into the business. We're doing a little bit of marketing ourselves. We're selling bags. These are the things that we're gonna start to do. But all of that said, we're seeing this breaking even almost to the dollar.
What about parking for the vendors?
So the vendors parking, if you think about the sections of Willow Street. Where when I sent you guys the video, where the market will be is directly in front of the bike
rack.
parking, bike rack at
Yeah.
the school. That's a stretch that will fit all 20 plus vendors, that one stretch. There's the break that the kids cross the school. There's parking over there. then there's more parking closer to the end of the street, closer to Oak. There's like 3 or 4 sections of Willow Street. Our vendors will be able to take advantage of one of those sections. In the morning, they will get there at a certain time that's gonna be stipulated in their agreement. We should be here by 8, set up by 9. They'll be let in, they'll park their cars, they have to stay until the market is closed, so nobody is leaving. They break down, they go out the one way. So they're parking in one of those sections, we will have to mark that off for any vendors to be able to utilize parking on Willow.
We're also closed here on Saturday, and there's parking in the parking lot.
Yeah.
They do need to know though, this is important to me, they can't get there before 8 AM. We start having trucks slamming doors
Oh, yeah.
and,
Yeah.
you know,
It's
the residents in that community are gonna be upset.
I'm getting more into the weeds of a farmer's market, and we have to give this group of people who attend these things a lot more credit. They're well-oiled machines. They know what it's like to come into people's towns and sell their goods. They're teaching us what this is. So the things that we bring to you are not us pulling out of a tree. It's a culmination of advice and experiences that they've had. They're not gonna come into this town and trash it. They're almost as excited about it as we are, so we'll stay nimble, we'll treat, we'll look, we'll regroup after every event and see what we can do differently. But what we're bringing is a group of really, really high-class people, so they'll be very respectful.
Is there a limit on how many vendors?
No, I mean, it's up to us. I think we should cap it at some point. Right now, we're not at the point where we're turning people away, but 20 is our goal. And we're almost there, so.
And are there any out of the confirmed vendors, or do you plan on having any trucks with prepared meals? Like I've gone to Red Bank, they have 2 or 3 food trucks. Or something like that.
Feast.
We've got to hope that it's successful enough that food trucks wanna come, but at the start,
That's not where we're at.
it's
Not yet.
expensive.
We've got
And so we don't have that demand yet, but I was just telling someone today, how great would it be to have like a bacon, egg and cheese bagel and this thing? So that, but we keep saying maybe phase 2, and you know, we don't wanna overstep and bring in something that will create any problems, but that would be a long-term goal.
Right.
So we'll figure it
Wouldn't there be other regulations though with
There would.
bringing in trucks? So that would be another.
It would be a different, like,
Yeah.
assurance
It would
or-
be-
Yeah.
And if any of your vendors serve food, do you have to go through the Board of Health? Do you have to get any kind of
They
certification?
carry their own certification that is different. I mean, if our Board of Health would like to get involved, there's no. From the research that I've done, the conversations that I've had, it's on the vendors to carry their own certification of health.
Okay.
If, like I said, you know, you guys tell us if you want to check on those or, you know, do the due diligence around that, but.
Chief, do you want jurisdiction on that? Yeah.
Teresa, can you reach out to our?
I will,
Can we reach out
just
to
wrote
her?
it down.
Awesome.
The other thing I was thinking, you know, these portable trash cans that hold bags now, you've seen them,
Yeah,
there's wire
Wire with
containers in
the-
there.
with the-
You know, is there thought that if we could, you know, you could maybe get out of the CPW thing altogether, if the police are closing the street and they're taking care of the barricades. If you insist that your vendors have one of those at their stands.
Yeah.
And they have to take the trash away when they leave, that would alleviate us worrying about the trash altogether.
Perfectly fine with that.
Yeah. Especially.
Like carry in, carry out.
Yeah.
Solve the problem. Good. What about pets? Pet friendly?
Find them.
No
If they don't take the garbage, they have 10 days to cure.
I mean, it's just too much of a liability with biting and live food, you don't want a dog or a cat.
Service dogs though?
Peacock. What was that?
Service
Yeah.
dogs?
You
Service
can't-
dogs would be allowed, and that's not fair, it's completely fair.
prohibit a service.
I'm being clear, right? That's all, like.
Well, I'm
saying
saying all
all
access,
right?
School, pick up and drop off now, and you see dogs, they would strip apart. That I would imagine.
Too soon?
They're not completely prohibited.
You guys did a great job.
And I do wonder, like, even if, you know, they don't take everything out right away, I'm sure people would volunteer, if it's one time a month, maybe you can have a couple of volunteers to help. Clean everything out
Yeah.
after.
Yeah, what we anticipate the 3 of us.
Would help here.
Yeah. We want to make this as seamless as possible and without relying too heavily on the borough, because we understand that you guys are stretched thin, that's totally acceptable. With the exception of, Chief McGovern, we really need the police.
Who's not stretched thin.
No. Nothing going on, but that's the only real reliance that we have. The rest of this will come from the three of us. I mean, we're more than happy and excited to take it on, so.
I think your amount of trash should be driven by food trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you
I'm in
get
favor of
the
food
kinks
trucks.
ironed out before they show up.
Yeah, so that's gonna be, that's phase two.
The other.
We have a coffee
It's
cart,
engines and
but that's it, a nice coffee cart.
The other logistical items to keep track, so we have a volunteer, like application process when people want to volunteer where the borough is supporting or something, so it's set, ready to go, piece of paper, so whoever's gonna volunteer to help out, to include the review and remove trash, they just have to sign the forms when they do it, so it's set in stone, we have it, but just putting that out there.
One thing we haven't talked about yet that I know, I believe you want this body to consider, which is, big picture, this farmer's market is a great idea. It's beautiful. You're doing a great job running it and putting this whole thing together. And I know that it's with the idea it's going to support our business district, which very much needs all our support. And one of the initial things that was discussed is a footpath between Willow and River Road. So it still is a super strong idea. And that would put pedestrians at River Road near Smart Start. And just to clarify, Teresa, is the parking lot to the west of the Smart Sport building, the old Nazione Temple, is that borough owned? The parking lot there?
It's shared within the three properties, and we have a, general share agreement who maintains it. As far as people parking there, they can. The issue with that is, there's a gate there, the school closes, so, you'd have to get the school
Yes,
involved to
the
open
school
that
would have
gate.
to open the gate. We
And
did
then you
walk
get into
it.
the whole, that's something we'd have to take up to the school.
Fair enough.
We've spoken to Sean, he's in support, and said he can do this first, however,
Okay.
yeah.
Where I was going with that is, the PPS, not that everybody would know about this, but there's River Road Corridor Study for Placemaking that speaks directly to that parking lot as an opportunity to activate it with some sort of program. Farmers Market was definitely one of the suggestions as a way to sort of animate the street, engage pedestrians and pull them in and along River Road. So do you have plans to do anything in that? Should that be agreeable to the governing body?
We scoped it out last week. There's a small, so Frame It Yourself owns that longer property that runs next to it. There's some brush, some tree, there's a lamp post, and then you're at the gate. There's a small triangle that is, I believe, borough property, you guys can confirm, that we would ideally like, I think it's been, it was looked at as a rain garden, a potential rain garden as well. It would be a good idea to that point to clear it out and create some sort of bridge to this gap, whether it's a kid's friendly zone with bubbles so that people, with their kids can walk through there, go right through their school, go to the farmer's market, just any sort of artery that connects these two parallel streets. We would be happy to help clear it out to kind of make the case that this is an important established route for the market. And then we can work with our friend who operates Sticks and Sprouts, and she said she'd be happy to do pop-up events there, so that people can come there on their way to the market, just to give those two.
I really love so there was talk about rain garden and that one, and the PPS study, and also the ATP talked about the use of a farmer's market, but connecting it and creating sort of some sort of live action vendors or events or bubbles of, what it is not as important in my mind as just that something is there.
Right, it's dead space right now, it's just an overgrown area.
Yeah, but beyond the triangle that you're speaking of, because I agree with you, it'd be fabulous to just something, but even beyond that, perhaps some of the parking lot could be allocated for additional vendor space.
Totally.
I
It's
started
something
to think about.
barricading off that west side of that parking lot.
Mhm.
So what is it about maybe it's like 10 parking
Yeah.
spots? You get those barricaded off so people can walk right through there. Recognizing it as a one-way, so you're getting Fairwinds, your only way out would be through that path, so not
It's pretty wide, there's probably room for all of that, because it's also not heavily used on a Saturday, because the school's closed, I would think.
Well, we had met with, Sean McNeil, a while back and talked about, completing the path that goes from their gate, back out to the road. The borough owns like a small area between where the cars park and a lot next door, but that would be an improvement project that we'd have to, draw out and, make the improvements.
We could do sort of guerrilla style improvements for now, even if it's potted plants or barricades or something to. I'm just suggesting it as a pilot project, we don't need to get any capital improvements right now, but to build the connection. To make sure that, like cars don't walk into shops and buy stuff. If we want people to come to River Road, they gotta park their car, get out, and then they're pedestrians. I just think this is gonna help provide a critical mass to support our businesses.
I will defer to I like the idea. I will defer to the three of you to think through, and not that you're doing this, but you don't want to bite off too much more than you can chew, number one. And number two, what is the goal of year one? Right? So we've talked about a farmer's market, we've talked about those mechanics, we've talked about an artery connecting the farmer's market to the business district, right? We talked about potentially food trucks, right? You're talking about the numbers. So it would help if you could clearly prioritize what your goals are for this year and just scope it in such a manner that you're not doing too much, right? Because the key of this is adaptability.
Yeah.
Right? And so having it in an organic means and method to allow for that adoption will go far. However much you guys want to dive in, I'll support, but I would just think through that piece.
Yeah, I think that, it's a great point. We don't work like food trucks, this isn't a circus, like we're doing, this is a farmer's market first and foremost, so getting that down is important to us for sure. But that connection to make sure that the small business district does not feel like cannibalized is important. And we
Sure.
need to figure out a way to physically join them together, and that is in 3 locations. That's Oak, that's that path, and that is Fairhaven Road. And if we, the 3 of us, can take rakes and clear that place out before May, I'm not asking for any help from DPW. If you give us the go ahead, we will do it and make sure that that is a space that's accessible to the people that are attending the market from River Road. I just don't want to get arrested. I
don't have a real clear picture. We'd have to maybe meet out there with Mr. Cordell and take a look at it. See
Yeah,
see where the
why don't we
borough's property
circle
is.
back when we meet
And
at some point?
I don't think closing that parking lot, I know we have an agreement with the other vendors, one of them being Fairwinds, and I don't think they would take kindly to.
Agreed.
closing off.
I don't think that we need to even speculate on it now because we have the space to hold everyone that we need. We're not overflowed, in a few years, year 2, whatever. People are chomping at the bit to get into this market. We have to expand. We know that the space is utilized, but I do think that we need to figure out a way to clear out this spot. Now, I walk it every day. It's just brush. So to get that cleared out, we can do that and we can make it so that it's an accessible place for the kids to come, safe, tuck away from there will be green cans for the brush, apparently, that's the next step,
Right.
so,
Green cans.
but like, if you leave it to us, we'll do it, that's really all that I'm.
And just two points, communication and signage. So is that something that the borough would be able to also communicate? No, because it's separate.
Yes.
Okay.
Signage though, we do
We
have
have requested communicate
We
the
put
farmers. It could go on the bus,
But we're
Just
not
like-
a borough sponsored event.
it's a borough partnership, we can absolutely communicate.
We're
that.
not a.
We're- Like the same way we
We're
do
allowed
the
to
nights
tell them,
event,
they're a vendor.
and we could communicate.
I'll be able to communicate it on the mayor page
Great.
as well.
Okay, so we'll talk.
The signage up front that says happy holidays is something we could consider. Red Bank has one. It's not a borough sponsored, that the Sorlises run that, and they have signage all over.
So I think you'd have to just keep that in mind, you have to bring it to us to approve where you're gonna put signage, but that might be something to think about where you might want it throughout town.
Yeah, great.
There's, I can see Carolyn and Paul. There's a Fairhaven Business Association meeting in March. It's a networking meeting, so Carolyn's you're pretty good turnout.
Yes.
At the networking meeting. If you think that they should have a meeting with the association prior to it, it's kind of your call, but I know they're knocking on doors, which might be the best way to handle it for now, and come to the March meeting. Yeah.
Well done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
All right, well, just, we'll get in touch with Teresa and we'll go from there, but.
Thanks, very nice. Thank you.
So excited.
Will there be gluten-free options?
All right, moving along to public comment on agenda items only. This is only for agenda items. Please stand and identify yourself by clearly stating your name and address for the record. Please try to observe a time limit, 3 minutes. Marty, are you waving goodbye or you're commenting?
So we'll take that.
That is your normal spot.
That's our normal spot.
It's thrown off.
Right. And I hate to go back to the brush, but if you can provide some clarification and connect the dots on landscapers, because a lot of people use landscapers, and you were referring to register, that they are supposed to register. Do they have to register?
It's all
And what
right.
happens to them if they don't register?
There's an appropriate enforcement. I forget what the exact ordinance states. So to connect the dots that you're asking for, there's a whole ordinance on what landscapers have to do, what they have to abide by, etc. And it wasn't referenced in the workshop ordinance. So having a place where that's connected to, so that residents know where they need to go of how to use landscapers was requested.
So the residents that use landscapers will somehow have to be responsible for making sure their landscapers register.
Yeah.
License. Yeah, they know to go get one for the most part, but
And that's notwithstanding the new brush and leaf ordinance, right? That's separate from that. As of today, all landscapers have to be registered in Fairhaven. It's on the onus. I'm not gonna call them.
Not on the resident though, our police enforce that, but they have hang tags that they're supposed to use on their vehicles and, that's part of the ordinance.
Okay.
I think here, the point of the brush and leaf ordinance was to say that if a landscaper doesn't comply, it's really the homeowner who will be held accountable.
Well, see, that's the point. That's my second dot that I'm getting to, is that if the landscapers are now going to be responsible for putting twigs or brush in these cans that we're gonna get. And
Unless they take them away.
well, some of them do, but some of them don't.
Right.
you can opt into the can.
So
or
the
opt
homeowner
out.
is gonna be like, come home maybe after being away or working. And you're gonna see all your brush outside, not in the can.
Correct.
Then the homeowner, I already have to take a Valium before I have to brush it up.
When the companies register with us and they're issued their tag or their sticker, they're given the borough calendar, the schedule, and asked to please abide by this and schedule your claims accordingly.
And now they'll get a one pager that shows them.
So
everything.
don't want to be negative about this, because I think it's a good idea, but the person who owns the company, who registers, is not normally the help that actually does the work. And so I think, talk about communication issues for the residents. There's going to be a massive communication issue for residents with their landscapers. Just a thought. Anyway,
And
that's what I'm.
I have a question sort of on what you're saying now. So if a landscaper, they come once are we requiring the landscapers now to come more? Because we're using the bins more, right? Because no.
No.
But they're not,
Bonus is still in them.
Okay, so they're. I guess, okay.
No, but they'll be, like residents care about their property a little differently. you know, like Betsy or, you know, our hedge clippings considered. That was just brilliant. You know, all these guys that are there to go from property to property to property, they're not gonna pick up things. Let's go with vegetative waste, or is it, you know, anyway, that's the kind of thing that I'm just sort of thinking ahead, thinking that we might need a second level of
We
education.
might need a second PDF that just goes to the landfill.
I'll tell you, I have a landscaper who, he registers every year, he gets the rules, he takes it back to his office, he figures out how many clients he has in zone 1, or all the zones, and he figures out what days he's gotta get in and get out by. It's a part of how he functioned in Fairhaven. He says it's crazy, he's always pulling his hair out, because Fairhaven is complex. I hope he'll find, I can't wait to hear what he says about this. Hopefully, it'll be easier. Hopefully, it'll make more sense to him.
And you
I'll-
said.
I'll find-
He prefer, he can just leave all the stuff and we take care of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great for him.
Tell them that on the court.
That's not what he does, but anyway, he's a good one, is what my point, and
Send me
it's,
his name.
I hope so.
Thank you.
And so,
That was the only consideration I had that I didn't hear, you know, fully discussed, so, thank you.
Is there anyone else in the public with a public comment, agenda items only? No, Allison?
Mr. Blazer?
Hi, Ruth. You there?
You have to unmute yourself. There you go.
I'd like to make a few comments, but please don't answer me until I'm totally finished, please. On this brush thing, for decades, there was no schedule. And this is not a health or safety issue. Little by little, over the time I've lived in town, which is more than 15 minutes, the borough did a lot more. It even picked up the trash, it picked up the garbage, and it managed to get it done. The town has not expanded in size. The population has fluctuated, maybe 300 people up and down since World War II. There is no great influx. In the interim, we've also got the internet, which has helped make life a little simpler for our administration. I just see that you spent approximately 30 minutes about punishing the residents. I mean, this is not a good attitude. This is not a good attitude. It's like grounding your teenager. You ground the teenager and then you have to modify your schedule so you can check that the grounding is being enforced. You're making more work for the borough employees. It is just ludicrous. I don't want another calendar on my refrigerator. I don't want another can in my yard. I believe in live and let live. Just go along with Mother Nature. You're going to have storms. You're going to have all kinds of natural things happen. Deal with them. Fairhaven has become what I would call Stepford Haven. If you've ever seen the movie The Stepford Wives, this, over the time I've lived here, is what Fairhaven has become. Everything is uniform. Everybody does the same thing. Everything is done the same way. And that is not the village attitude that Fairhaven had even 40, 30 years ago. We used to be able to take our bulk over to we had to take it, but we could take it over to the DPW every Saturday between 9 and 1. Then they cut that back to one Saturday a month. It was a wonderful place to meet your neighbors. It was a community atmosphere over there. Now you're lucky if you see your neighbors in the Acme. Fairhaven, the character of Fairhaven has totally, totally changed. I think if you have a problem with the leaves and them getting picked up and the brush and getting picked up, it's time to get an efficiency expert in to really study the DPW and the way it works. And maybe you can get a college to do it for free, to come in and do it as part of a field study or something like that. I just don't think the problem is with the residents. I think it's with the DPW. And that is my comment. As I say, I don't want another can in my yard and I don't want another calendar on my refrigerator. Stay out of my yard. Leave me alone. When you've got a health and safety issue, talk to me. But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Allison, anyone else with a comment? Public comment on agenda items only? No? Okay, with that, I'm gonna move along to approval of minutes. November 27th, 2023, regular meeting. Motion there.
Second.
Okay, Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Councilmembers Paul,
Yes.
Bowie,
Yes.
Hutch,
Yes,
Lumberger.
Yes.
December 18th, 2023, regular meeting.
Motion.
second,
Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Paul,
Yes.
Bowie, yes,
yes,
Lumberger.
Yes.
Hold on, I'm trying to read them. Thank you.
December 18th, 2023, executive session.
Motion.
second,
Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Councilmembers Paul,
Yes.
Bowie,
Yes.
Hutch,
yes.
Lumberger.
Yes.
Thank you. January 2nd, 2024 reorganization meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Councilmembers Cole,
Yes.
Missoni,
Yes.
Bowie,
Yes.
Hutch,
Yes,
Lumberger.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, council committee reports, finance, police, fire and OEM, borough facilities.
Thanks, Mayor. Finance, will have the, first draft of the budget, in February. Based on our executive session discussion back in December, some left and rights on what was gonna go in the initial budget will come forth. We do have an executive session topic that relates to finance that we'll talk about later. The other thing that we are tracking is our total rateable base from 2023 has gone up over 10%. Which can impact a myriad of things. So more to come. I just want to put these key things on folks' radar. So as they come across, nobody's blindsided. Police, fire, and OEM. We've moved on conversations with all of these. To put things in perspective, on police in 2023, they had 8,431 calls in 2023. Which is a substantial increase from 2022 where we saw a dip. We will start hiring for patrolmen. I think we'll talk about an executive session as for the details. I'm not sure what is publicly available yet, so I want to respect that. Fire, there's been a lot going on. From a 2023 perspective, 203 responses for the fire department, 420 for first aid. And then there were 75 mutual aid responses where we helped another town in 2023. Fire is again signing up for the Mid-Monmouth Mutual Aid Agreement, which is really, really important. This allows other towns to back us up and vice versa in the case of an issue. So that whether it was like a fire that was on Fairhaven Road or the fire that occurred in Seabright, it's knowing that the department's going to be staffed wherever folks are. The state signed into a law, a cease and desist for use of a certain ingredient in our foam truck. So we're not allowed to use it effective immediately. We're working through what that means as far as use of the truck and whatnot, some more details. Fire is practicing ice rescue tonight at McCarter's Pond. So that is ongoing. They don't get too many times to practice it, but that is underway. And then we'll be looking to see if it's possible to have a governing body meeting at the fire department sometime this year. We started talking about that last year, kind of dropped off with some other community priorities. Ending on facilities. I'm going to start high level. Administrative wise, we need direction from the governing body with change orders. So when I say a change order, I'm not talking something that we initiate and we want changed. I'm talking unforeseen circumstances. So I'll give you an example. At the end of last year, there was flooding that went into the current police department building because of the two-phase demo. Given the unforeseen nature of it and the fact that water was gushing in, there was an immediate change order to reconcile. Another change order came up where a sink and cabinet were missing in the community center, and by law, we need to have it there. The sink we haven't approved, the water one we did, given the immediate nature of it. But we need to know what we're comfortable with what the mayor is authorized to approve when an unforeseen circumstance comes up and where we're comfortable. I think for me, I'll speak on my perspective and then open it up, Tracy, Ed, as you see fit. I think if there's like a safety, a life safety, a threat to infrastructure, something like water gushing in, that kind of requires an immediate approach, dependent on, contingent upon that it's not fiscally out of the realm of, you know, a payment. So I think that was like $3,000, $3,400. I can't remember what the waterproofing was.
I think it was closer to 5.
Five?
But it also wasn't excessive. If it were like, this is important. I'm glad we're talking about this. You know, expenditures are the jurisdiction of this body. So what we floated a few ideas. We just knew we needed to come here and establish a policy, some sort of procedure. One suggestion is we have a threshold, like change orders under $3,500 or $5,000, whatever that number is, can kind of automatically keep, we don't want to lose momentum. When construction is going, one of the key variables that'll send your project sideways is messing up the momentum. So we do need to keep moving. So we could potentially say anything at that threshold number to be determined could move forward. But if it exceeds that, then it comes back here and has to wait a meeting cycle. Unless, of course, there's a life safety or some sort of urgency to it, which I think there has to be some exemption around. I also want to make sure that we get guidance in case the attorney has anything for us in terms of how a committee could approve something like that, since it's technically an expenditure. When we get a change order, it comes to the facilities committee, which doesn't technically have the authority to authorize expenditures. That's this body.
But not every change order is.
We would have to. It would have to exceed the threshold.
I mean, technically, this governing body did approve up to 20% of change orders, right, with the ordinance, right? What we did last year was, when we were presented with situations, not that continually happened, was we came to a consensus here, right? And then gave the mayor the authority to do it. So if we're saying that's a threshold and whatnot, so for example, this sink, right? There's like a $4,800 charge for this change order that we need to have, right? So this was not, it was unforeseen, but there wasn't a time constraint to it that it's going to stop.
Right.
So that could wait, right? So what we've done previously, right, last year was came to a consensus as the governing body, gave clear left and right for Josh, right, with what he's allowed and what couldn't, had to wait and come back to the governing body.
We figured we would do the monthly, coming out of Eli's office, they do, and not every change order is all up. Change orders sometimes are puts and takes, like this sink would have
There's a credit
someplace else,
Yeah.
If you think about when Rich does a road project, when you get a change order, you'll see that he had some where he increased something and some where he decreased something, and you ultimately approve them, and generally they tend to be after the fact, the governing body has awarded a base bid, and these are within, at the end of the day, you'll know whether you come in under that or over that based on these. There's a big difference between the waterproofing, like Councilman Lovabera pointed out, and the governing body or us deciding we want to put a window in where it wasn't before, which would be something where you guys would say, it's going to cost you an extra $8,000 to put a bay window in. Do you really want to do so? As opposed to we need a slop sink because that's what the law, requires. So, some of them are optional and some of them aren't. And so that's really what you have to take a look at. But our goal is to get them to you monthly, so you'll have an ongoing, ability to approve them.
Oh, and we also have the bond ordinance, right, that controls obviously a number that we can't exceed.
Yeah.
And we have the 20% built in.
well, look, we don't wanna use that 20%. I was gonna make it
I
funny.
understand, but there, like Teresa said, is, you know, there's certain things that you have to do, and there's gonna be pluses, and you know, from all the projects you've done, you know, pluses and minuses, and
Yeah,
Hopefully it's a net zero.
It should, that's what our
that's all.
intent is.
I mean, that's the goal, right?
And listen, if there's a change order like this one that came up where we can push back, because I don't like personally to make a decision with the proverbial gun to the head, right?
Mhm.
Like, we're not operating under any like limited requirements here, so, so, you know, in this instance, we were able to push it and we pushed back, we did. And I think a threshold, a financial threshold makes sense. I think it needs to be unforeseen. If there's a foreseen change coming down, that should be clearly communicated way ahead of the time, and a decision should be made at this governing body on a foreseen change that is going to happen. But the unforeseen, I think it should come down to a threshold, and I think it should come down to the priority of how quickly it needs to happen. If it can wait, great. If it can,
So
okay.
I think under 5,000 or under seems to be a workable threshold that you get through most of the, just to keep everything cruising. Because they document it very clearly also.
Yeah, I'm good. I think that's a great
Is
dollar
there,
amount. And I think the same one's like 4,800, but that doesn't include the net change.
yeah, there's-
Anything that comes back as a credit, we won't bring back. We'll just let you guys know what that is. But again, these are unforeseen things that pop up,
Right.
right? So,
So if it's anything over 5,000, it's gonna be critical, there's an urgency to it, it's, you know, a must do,
yeah, and we can also communicate with folks as needed if something like that, God forbid, happens, right? So we just
I'm
want to make sure we're
comfortable
level
with that,
set.
as long as that's acceptable to the rest
You
of
good with
the
that?
council.
And
Oh,
we do it monthly.
you know, I don't like spending money anyway.
Okay, awesome. The other thing too, we don't need to discuss it today. We'll pass around. So if you guys remember when we did the PD and Community Center, relying on the Goldstein Partnership, BFI, who are certified interior designers, exterior designers. They helped us come up with all the renderings, right? And the public ultimately came at like that grayish bluish. I'm bad with colors and partially like color sometimes. So anyway, so the discussion has become to work towards finished boards, both from an exterior working our way in. So you'll see more communication. There's no decision to be made till the end of February. We want to give ample time. We'll pass out the renderings. We started with the roof because the roof and the siding have the greatest constraints from supply chain and availability of supplies. And knowing that the public has already decided on the you know, the primary color that we're going to try. And then from this will follow interiors, furniture, etc. There'll be more input, obviously, on the community center, which goes in for a color, but we're going to start here and work away from the outside in. So I'll pass this around if you want to see it.
We're using all three of those?
No, this is what we choose from.
Top
for
one's the roof,
exterior.
and we have to pick a siding.
What
party
is
type
chief
siding
like?
to go with it.
What is chief's vote?
It was that bluish, lighter gray one.
Perfect.
Which one?
Great plate.
I don't know which way it is.
The one,
Yeah.
the one on the right.
Well, so
Keep the bluish.
what I'll caveat is, I would, if you want, every governing body member should take this outside. That middle one has pink in it, red in it, red.
Hey, you know, do not, no, let them see with their own eyes.
Yeah,
But
true.
you're better off to look at in the light of day.
Yeah.
And it'll be at my office, you can stop by, take it outside.
Yeah.
If you're doing white shutters, I wouldn't do that middle one.
I would just do white.
Yeah, just
Why would we do white shutters?
take it outside, take a look. There are no white shutters. Take a look, right? I just, so we just want to start the process, right? There's no rush in this. We have over a month, right? But we'll start from the roof, work our way to the siding, and then start going inside so that ultimately in 3-4 months, we will have the full finished boards that we'll be able to put on public. A few other things, Mayor, just to dive in on PD. We talked the change order for the missing countertop and the hand sink. We talked colors. The steel delivery will be coming prepared with how we're going to use the 3rd Street entrance for the steel delivery. If you recall, on the 18th of December meeting, we went through all the logistics. So we've requested a logistics plan, we've requested a route, we've requested timing, we've requested number of trucks. There's a lot of information we requested. We'll package it, we'll give it to everybody. We're working very closely with Chief. I'm going to end with DPW. Next one, Bicentennial Hall, 25 January, 5 o'clock. We have our initial stakeholder kickoff call. This is to begin the discussions on the ADA upgrades, punch list or the maintainable list for DPW. And we have 4 key components of the plan. So I'll send it to Allison, she'll be able to disseminate to the group. If anybody has questions, feel free to come to Tracy and I. And then ending on DPW, the recycling center will be closed as of 31 January. That's because of construction. We're gonna put a large sign on the locked gate, right? We'll have the security cameras up, everything. DPW is starting the use of the concession stand. The concession stand does have a 23-year-old HVAC and a 27-year-old air handler, so just FYI that there might be some restorative efforts the concession stand needs after 9 months of use. Next week, we'll be doing a walkthrough with Sherry Sparrow. So if the governing body recalls last year, Sherry Sparrow did the initial walkthrough, identified the trees to come down, what to replant, commented on the landscaping plan. So next week, she'll be coming through to meet with the GC to mark everything out and make sure that there's no confusion whatsoever. We'll look to do groundbreaking next week. So I'll shoot some text messages out to everybody. And Tracy and I will coordinate. We can't have a quorum. Actually, no, we did last time. We were able to have everybody there. So whoever wants to join, we'll be able to do the groundbreaking next week. Two things. So on the agenda, just a quick shout out. The extra due diligence we did on fuel tanks came in 20 grand less than what we budgeted there. 20,000 less. So kudos to Rich taking his time, working with Manny. So that's tonight, but it's great that it came in 20 grand under budget. And then we're hoping to dust off the offset improvements to Maple Ave. If you recall, we rejected that bid because it came in way over, and we think we can get it for $200,000 cheaper than what the bid came in. So we'll have to look to authorize that to go out to bid just to get some pricing. So hopefully that comes in the near term so we can coordinate. So I know it took a little extra time there. Just wanted a good level set. Start at the beginning of the year, no PowerPoint. Okay. I'm done.
We're gonna miss that.
Thank you,
quick question
Councilman
on
Barbera.
The micro projects,
Micro projects.
Yes, I want to hear about the micro project.
I don't have an update on that scheme of
I know, I want to hear.
I would, the chair's engineering to be able to flag project.
Oh, okay.
Micro projects, okay. After our initial meeting, which is later this week. Yeah. Suffice it to say, at this point, things are moving forward. There's a clear sense of priorities. And we can, and I'll make that report at the next meeting, or I'll call you if you like it sooner. I didn't mean to start that.
No, thank you, Councilman Barbera. Moving along to personnel, Borough Communications, Community Outreach, Parks and Rec, Councilwoman Cody.
Sure. I'll start with personnel. Thank you. So Councilwoman Koch and I spent some time individually with the majority of the borough employees throughout I guess toward the end of the month of December. So we gathered feedback on how things are going. We talked through their goals. We provided support as needed. I think it was well received and they were good conversations, very robust conversations. Importantly, we posted the role of the borough administrator on the Fairhaven Borough websites, right on the direct landing page. That has been linked to other sites, including the League of Municipalities, social media, LinkedIn, etc. Encouraging everyone to share it far and wide. We did talk about process. Drew and I will continue to receive the resumes. We'll share them in executive session. We've received 3 applications so far. It's only been posted a couple of days, which is great. And we'll continue to talk through the process. Obviously, we'll share resumes with the governing body. We did put forth a process to make sure everybody's involved in the selection process and more to come. But in the meantime, if everyone can just continue to share that, that would be super helpful. Following that, we'll work on posting the role for CFO, which is going to be our next critical hire to the department. Some more to come on that. Parks and Rec held our first meeting on the 9th of January. We are really excited about a potential partnership with the BOE, the Board of Education, with PTA and the Borough to upgrade the playgrounds at Sickles Park. So there's a meeting actually taking place later this week, having a company come on site to give some updated quotes, but the PTA and the Board of Ed have expressed interest in partnering us significantly on funding, which is great. So more to come. We had an initial meeting on the bike safety program that we've mentioned a couple of times. We had that at the beginning of December. Chief was there, Corporal Kastner, I always forget. Kastner, thank you. Patrolman Robinson were there. So more to come, but we had initial discussions. I think, again, we're going to break that up into 2 components. Registration is open right now for the mother-son dance, the father-daughter dance, all the spring sports, baseball, softball, lacrosse, and our next meeting will be on February 6th. Comms, our first meeting we held, with our new chairperson, Councilwoman DiMichelli, on the 18th of January. We, again, I'm not gonna, we don't need to go there, but we had a lot of conversation on the version before the letter of communication. We also have given the community an update on the recycling center closure. We want to remind everyone that the police station is open normal business hours. I think we've gotten some questions around that in light of the construction in the area. We are going to announce the new parking regulations for Fairhaven Road as we get closer to crabbing season. And, you know, as Councilwoman DiMichelli pointed out, you know, people should feel encouraged to check the website for ongoing updates. There's a lot of information that's stored there. Feel free to chime in if I missed anything. Is that everything? Okay.
Was there any initial feedback, questions, comments from the recycling center being closed? Anything that can be done differently?
No, unless Betty Ann received some, no.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing yet. Quickly on beautification, I'll just mention we met, we have a lot of conversations going on about the new bid, the new lights have gone out to bid. We're expecting responses by the 5th of February, so we'll be able to move on that project. And then the library board is holding our first board meeting on January 31st.
The bids are being accepted next Tuesday. We hope to award on the 5th.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Accepted next Tuesday. I got it. Thank you. I thought you said the 5th. Okay. Okay, all good. That's it.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bowie. Planning Board, Councilman Kai.
Thank you, Mayor. The planning board met Tuesday, January 16th for their annual reorganization meeting. At that time, they elected as chair Fred Rolfe, who was the chair last year, and Dave Paola as the vice chair. They also appointed for their board secretary Sheila Olson, their board attorney Doug Kovats, board engineer Rich Gardella, board planner was CCH, and then the list of meetings for 24. And that was basically the business that they conducted.
Who's CCH?
Bar, Canton, and well, the Navasik Municipalities Commission met last week.
Your time is up.
But I found out something very interesting at that meeting, that the sewage authority is actually building a tunnel under the Shrewsbury River.
Yes, huge.
It's huge. It's like 3 times the size. They gave me the dimensions, like 25 feet wide, and
Michael, when
she was there.
he came to our meeting, he showed us the whole plan.
It's all for sewage.
Stormwater, sewage, or just sewage?
Sewage from the city? Or
No,
sewage from here?
all of the surrounding area towns, they didn't say which 2 were not participating, but all of the area town, all that sewage flows down. It comes out over by Oceanport across the Shrewsbury River. So I thought it was really interesting, the conversation that they had about that.
Didn't that representative brief us in that meeting last
Yeah,
year?
like, he showed us the pictures and everything.
It's a 2 river reclamation.
Reclamation Authority, yeah. Yeah. I guess that's why they raise their fees for everybody, so. That'd be wild.
But you did meet the,
We met last Thursday.
and is there an update on the status of the river?
No, the gentleman that was to provide that update did not show up.
Okay.
Okay, moving along, engineering and DPW followed by zoning board of adjustment, Councilman Cole.
Thank you, Mayor. Engineer DPW, on the 30th of January, we'll be receiving bids, as Kristen's touched on, for the repairs to the street lamps. Myself, among many other residents, are looking forward to this work moving forward. So, with good fortune, we will have those bids. We will get good bids. Rich will review them and then make a recommendation along with Councilman Andrew Sobel. And we will hopefully be able to award that job February 5th. Yeah, that's the anticipation, with the work to begin and be completed this year. And which might be a great way for us to frame how we want to work on holiday decorations, so that by the end of the year, we've got really a nice, put a bow on it is what I'll say, because there's some careful coordination opportunities there. I want to give a big shout out to our small but dedicated crew at DPW. They saw us through state of emergency on January 9th, where we experienced high winds, heavy downpour. They took steps to mitigate potential flooding in vulnerable areas. And we also had our at 2 back-to-back snow events on Tuesday and Friday. So thank you, and we're grateful it got us through. We really can't thank them enough, considering the conditions were, you know, they really give us a lot considering they're a small crew, and they turned out for us. So I would like to acknowledge we have 3 foremen that we're going to be appointing tonight. Dave Carl is our buildings and grounds and parks foreman, and a wealth of very helpful on the ground knowledge. He is indispensable. We're lucky to have him, and I'm glad he's going to be reappointed as foreman. And we also have Jared Okerson, our building and grounds technician, and Jim O'Brien, our streets foreman. So I just want to call that out. We're lucky to have those guys, and they're on the agenda for this evening. The zoning board held its January reorganization meeting on January 4th and scheduled to meet on February 1st and hear an application for 550 River Road, which is the former PNC building. The Historic Preservation Commission will be meeting tomorrow night, and again, that's their reorganization meeting. Grants Committee will be meeting February 9th, and we anticipate at least one. There's a couple grants that we've been tracking, and we'll hope to have that in a summary form for the governing body to review by our 2/26 meeting. We'll continue to monitor for the fair share housing. I just want to acknowledge that Teresa sent out a summary on our affordable housing and our plan, as well as an overview of kind of how it works and what's happened so far. And I just, as busy as everyone is, it would be really worth your while to spend 5 minutes and look at it. It's easily understood and pretty simple to go through, and it gives a really helpful overview. And that's important.
Thank you.
Just one thing, Mayor. Councilwoman Cole, who is the chair of the zoning board?
Todd,
Todd Leader, okay.
yeah,
And the attorney is Doug Kovacs as
Doug
well?
Kovacs, yeah. And Sheila is the secretary.
Got it, thank you.
Okay, moving along, introduction of ordinances 2024-01, supplement chapter 7, traffic sections 14, 15, and 21. Does anyone have any questions or discuss this before I ask for a motion?
This just stems from all of our engagement with the residents back in the fall.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And the recommendations from the chief and his supporting
And this
staff.
And this was the second action behind the one that was passed for the fishing and crabbing.
That's correct.
So this is the second lever we're pulling to help.
Third lever, bathroom.
The porta potty was removed and all over there. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Sure.
So this is just, you're adding just more restrictions on parking times. There are times in the day you can park there.
So there's more than that. There's one section closer to the river where we extended no parking. How many feet? It's not
From the river, from the dock to, Fairwood, no parking at all. Right now you can park on one side.
Yeah.
And then from Fairwood to River Lawn, you can park, right now there's no parking on the, west side, so we change that, that's all like that. And the rest of the 2-hour parking all the time, right?
Yeah, so that's no difference. And the only thing is that, we say till 9 o'clock, but when we have concerts, I just wanna make sure that there's gonna be some kind of leeway for concerts, right? Cause it's saying 9 o'clock. You can't
well, it wouldn't, the concert won't go more than 2 hours. So there shouldn't be an issue.
I guess, but what if someone's parked, they come later and they park past 9 o'clock? Would they have an issue?
But once it's after 9 o'clock, there's no more 2 hour.
Oh, got it. So it doesn't matter. So they can park whatever. Okay, so that's fine.
That is good to discern. Okay.
I have one question for Chief. Is the new parking going to require a lot of new signage?
Yes, yeah, there'll be signage.
And approximately, I'm just interested in, you know, But I want it to be functional, but I also wanted to, I just want to preserve the charm.
Yeah, the sign will be whatever is required, I think it's 50 feet, every 50 feet, so I don't know how many feet it is, but there'll be I'll say 4 or 5 signs on the east side.
Yes.
And then on
The west,
their waters.
on the west side is River Lawn.
How far is it?
Well, do we have signs there of any kind right now?
There should be on the one side.
Yeah, the
because
one side is
it's
right,
parking
the
on
one
the
side, I'm not sure.
East side there signage.
Yeah, both sides.
So there's gonna be a
Yes.
few more signs,
Yes,
so not a lot more signs,
whatever is required,
which is every 50 feet.
about every 50 feet, correct?
That's like almost every property.
Yeah. Yeah. And they try to put them on the property line, so it's not fair.
And can we do it less than every 50? I mean, can we do it more than every 50? Not more.
Whatever is required by law.
We'll take a look at the DOT.
You have to look exactly what it is, but whatever it is.
I feel like it was 75 feet, because when we did it over on Cambridge, remember? We had it like span like 150 foot in, and there was only one sign. And 75 feet in either direction.
Corner there too, so there's no parking here in the corner.
Yeah.
First 25 feet, so I'm not sure.
And then you'll have the stop sign.
Yeah, but you have this, right, you have this 3-way stop there, so you're not gonna put anything for 25 feet, because
Okay, that's
it's
good.
automatically, for the stop sign, you don't need any signs.
Mhm.
But after that, whatever minimum is required, we have to.
Let me know if it's.
I'll take a look,
okay.
yep.
I personally think these new parking rules are gonna be helpful in figuring out, as the planning gets underway for 21. This will provide us with feedback, of what's working and what's not working. So that's my only contribution.
Anything else? Motion, anyone?
Motion to introduce?
Second,
Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Councilmembers Cole,
yes.
Pimentelli. Yes. Hoey.
Yes. Yes.
Oliver Bear.
Yes.
Olson.
Yes. Thank you. Consent agenda, we're talking about, excuse me, resolutions 2024-35 through 46. Before I ask for a motion, is there anything that anyone wants to separate off the consent agenda?
I don't want to separate, but I have one question.
Sure.
Authorized cooperative purchase for this Ford Maverick.
We've had a few questions on this. Teresa, you want to take it?
Yeah, I'll take it. If you recall, the borough, the governing body had approved the purchase of a cargo van to
Yes,
be used for, recreation. And, it was impossible to, get a cargo van. And the chief can certainly, jump in here, but we've been doing our best to monitor every possible site to be able to do so. The governing body approved that, back in December of 22 in an amount not to exceed $32,000. We hence have found on a national co-op, a Ford Maverick, which is really a truck,
yeah,
in the amount of $27,784.30, which both the chief and DJ feel will be, will meet the needs of, recreation. We're gonna put a
Cap on
cap on
it.
it.
oh, okay.
And the cap will, even with the cap, it won't exceed the 32,000 that was originally approved for the cargo van.
Yeah.
This is on here because it's a national co-op and we're compelled to adopt this resolution, by New Jersey, state purchasing law because it's a national co-op.
I see.
Did you say cab or cap or government?
Cap for the truck.
For the truck.
Vehicles,
That's what I thought.
vehicles have been very hard
it's a
to
cover.
come by. Especially
Cover, but
inexpensive
it's
vehicles, and the Ford Maverick pickup, especially a mini pickup, is actually very affordable and available. Not many cars are available anymore, so we got that, we looked at a cap for it, under, everything being under 32, DJ, we looked at it, DJ was happy with it, so. I just helped them try to pick out the car.
So it works.
Yes.
For what a cargo van would have given us this.
Yes.
Yes.
I talked to the DJ and
Yeah.
we're in agreement that this is a good choice.
I have one follow-up question. This vehicle is for Fairhaven programs and for recreation purposes or other Fairhaven things within Fairhaven. This vehicle doesn't.
Yeah, no, he doesn't
Fairhaven.
take it home or anything like that. No, it's just within Fairhaven.
The only other person that's even approved to drive that truck is Betsy.
Like you did that.
And we avoided $5 grand.
Not five, I mean, five with the cap probably closer to three.
Still, but we avoided $3,000 of cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll get the logo onto the side of the truck and all of that we usually do.
Any other questions on the consent agenda? Before I ask for a motion? Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Paul?
Yes.
Roselli?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, department reports, December 2023. Year end 2023. Do I have a motion to accept the reports as submitted?
Motion with a thank you.
And second with.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, moving along, go to the borough. Please stand and identify yourself by clearly stating your name and address for the record. Please try to observe a time limit of 3 minutes. Is there anyone in the public? Yes.
I'm Carolyn Ferguson at 7 Clinic Court. I'm coming here to ask for a little help. We recently replaced an existing fence and the borough gave us a code violation. Our backyard is across the street from the back of the Acme Shopping Center. There's equipment stored back there. There's people who smoke and talk on their cell phones back there. Employees park on the street and they come and go. The shopping center has no screening at all, not a fence, not a bush, nothing. The ordinances do not allow us to screen our yard from the shopping center with a privacy fence. I'm a community volunteer who knows the zoning procedures and ordinance as well. Without going into details, I assure you that at every step of the way, we have tried to follow the rules and the procedures. And the code violation did not result from negligence on our part. The way out of this for us is to apply for a variance. So this is just for a fence, right? Not a super expensive item. This will require us to pay the borough $2,700 in fees and escrow to just enter the process. Besides that, we're attempting to start the process despite that very high cost. But we're now faced with a 26-page application that requires us to provide a long list of documents that we don't even know what they are or where to get them, and many of which don't seem pertinent to a fence. We asked for the fence ordinance to be changed to allow a privacy fence when a property abuts a shopping center, which we thought was a fair and simple solution, but that wasn't done. So basically this has turned into a big expensive mess. It's going to use up borough time. It's caused us a lot of stress, and it doesn't really seem like it's going to benefit the community in any way. Our matter is extremely simple. It's highly likely to get approved. Is there an abbreviated process or application we can use? Or is there someone who can work with us to understand the long list of documents and where we should find them?
Is there, is there new information? Or are we talking about the exact same thing we talked about?
Same thing.
Oh, so you're presenting it because it's a new council? Is that what I'm getting out of the?
No, we learned at the end of last year that you weren't going to move forward or act on our request to change your ordinances. So now we've tried to take the next step and enter the variance process, but now we have another huge hurdle, all for a fence. And it's a fence that we replaced in the exact same position. It's a pre-existing condition. We didn't change or make it worse.
I think we need to talk, you know, I don't have an answer for you right off the cuff. You said that you found out at the end of the year that we weren't gonna act on it.
Yeah.
Was that new information? Who did that come from?
Teresa sent me an email.
I wasn't aware we were still discussing it. I thought we had discussed it earlier in the year and that we had sent it to zoning for them to give a ruling, which I thought we had a ruling from the zoning attorney at the time. I thought, and the zoning attorney said based on the current setup that was the process that needed to be followed. I don't recall discussing it since then in any capacity. You know, I'm a little bit opposed to setting up an ordinance to find a mechanism based on the shopping center just because it applies to your house and it's helpful to you. But that being said, I'm not opposed to looking at it to see if there's something that benefits the entire town in a different capacity. As far as like getting help on the fence, I'm not sure, I'm sure someone from the town would be willing to sit down and help you, but not from the borough. Does that make sense?
No.
Because if we do that, we have to sit down with every single person that applies for a zoning application and go over the ins and outs of that zoning application. So you're looking for,
It's a level of guidance.
an anomaly where we do that. I mean, I'll do it with you. I don't know that it might be a good learning experience for me.
Sure.
To see what's going on, but not as a representative of the borough. I do it as a resident of the borough to see if I can help you.
Sure.
I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on it. Yes.
I was just going to say that we had another resident have an issue with zoning, and he actually called me and told me that Nick was very helpful.
Nick is very helpful.
In the
Yeah, that's
process. Has
I
he
don't-
been able to offer you any guidance?
Yeah, I don't see, I mean, I don't know what Carol's referring to as far as, what she doesn't understand, but I don't see the reason why, Nick or Joe wouldn't sit with her and go through them. Some of those things you can just ask for a waiver for. I mean, I don't have it in front of me, I don't know what you're looking for, but I don't have a problem with the zoning office giving, like any resident, giving some assistance when it comes to something like that. They won't do it for them,
Right.
but they certainly can,
Walking through the process.
explain the process if you have questions to that regard.
I think that might be a key, because the list is like 30 list items long, most of which don't apply for a fence. I assume that if we had a conversation like that, they would waive a big majority of them.
Why don't you start there and see,
I'd be happy to start
and if you set up the meeting, Carolyn, and I can make it, it'd be a good learning experience for me too.
I'll come as
I'll be happy,
well.
I'll be happy to see it.
There's a zoning function I'm supposed to be tracking. I track other applications.
Very
And
good. That
I
would be
do know
super
that
helpful.
the zoning board is arduous as opposed to planning board or an as of right application, but I'll just hold my thoughts for now, but I know that other folks who have had simple matters that are burdened by the zoning board process is by intentionally a higher bar because you're asking for something that's not allowed, is the idea. But then there are conditions where it's pretty simple. You can't anticipate approval, but it seems like it would be. And maybe conceptually, is there an alternate route? I know that's a legal issue, but we're a small town, it'd be nice to be able to figure out something that feels a little friendlier.
Also, when we met with Nick, he told us, Kristen, he said they reviewed 300 applications and 20 were not approved.
Yeah.
So I would definitely start with him.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to reach out, I'll come with the mayor.
That's great, I'll reach out to Nick and help you.
Can I just ask
survey
one
to-
question though? Yeah, again, I don't know much about zoning, but you can't replace, if it was an existing fence, you can't just replace that, even though it was like, and there's no grandfathered in kind of. Okay.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
Well,
And it was in the right of way. It's in the right of way, regardless of the fact it was it.
You can replace it.
But that's
with
also-
permit. She's asking for a variance
With the variance.
because of the way her yard is set.
But
She's looking for a privacy fence, so.
But it was already existing, she's replacing it how it was, but but they had done
If
it.
it wasn't a variance, she'd be replacing it with just a permit. The
Yes,
problem is.
I got you.
yeah.
The bigger issue is if you have a not permitted use and you have a resident nearby, the not permitted use, in this case, the commercial
Yeah.
operation should have been required to provide a buffer for those residents across the street. Has come and gone. Next time there's a site plan before the planning board, that's something that can happen, but it's a very narrow area there and your livability is impacted by the back of the house of a commercial operation, which is technically not permitted in that part.
I hate to point out the obvious is they might not have thought of that because at the time she had a fence that was already up.
But a land
I
use
know.
decision
I'm
is
just saying in
based on
general.
appurtenances,
Yeah.
it has to do with the zone, and that's a residential zone immediately abutting a commercial zone. And there's language in our land use ordinance about landscape buffers. It's very narrow back there, so it would have been challenging to make that happen. I don't even know what the answer would be, but the fact that it's become your burden is the piece I am struggling to reconcile myself. So,
And just, you mentioned it's just for one person, but it's really not. There's 3 yards that are in the same situation.
I understand that. For me, I'm trying to communicate that setting a precedent that someone has an issue that affects them and we change an ordinance specifically to relieve them of those pressures, to me means you're changing ordinances for the benefit of singular residents. I don't think that sets a good precedent. That was my point.
Suggest that we could look at it another way, right? Land use ordinances define how that piece of land can be used regardless of who owns it. It seems like that piece of land is being unfairly burdened by not allowing it to screen itself from the shopping center.
That's one thing me and you differ on, but respectfully.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. I will definitely set up that meeting. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else with go to the borough? Anyone else?
I do.
Yes.
I'd just like to let everybody know that the Foundation of Fairhaven is sponsoring an event on March 3rd at the Columbus Club. It's called Haven Hoedown. Tickets will be available online at the end of the week and in person if you wish to pay cash or use a check at Canyon Pass. There'll be there's games, there's food, there's competition, there'll be music. And all of this will be available at the Columbus Club starting at 7 o'clock on March 3rd. All of the proceeds from this will go towards Fairhaven Day and other community events.
It's adults only or family?
Adult only.
Wow.
And future events will be Fairhaven Day on June 8th. And we're bringing back Oktoberfest, which will be on September 28th.
Wow.
Sorry, the event is March
20
3rd, you said?
2024.
Well, Sunday?
That's where it's at. Borough Fairhaven, that's where it's at. 2024.
Sunday?
Pardon me?
It's a Sunday?
Saturday.
Oh, so it'd be March 3rd.
Did I say?
That's all good.
I said March 3rd. It should be March 3rd.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I write down the right thing.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the public with a public comment? Go to the borough. Allison, you're online. Real quick, I want to congratulate the 8th grade girls mid-Monmouth basketball team.
The coach.
Congratulations.
So for the 4th straight year, they advanced to the Final Four of the Mid-Monmouth playoffs. An amazing accomplishment. Amazing. Word is potentially the most accomplished girls basketball team in the history.
Coach of the year.
They play again on Saturday. We got Homedale. I don't remember what time, but I just want to congratulate a tremendous accomplishment. They are fantastic. I'm so proud of them. With that being said, we're going to move towards our first executive session of the new year. A new year that includes a Haven Hoedown, an Oktoberfest, and Fairhaven Day, and a farmer's market. Wow. Right? 9:53 p.m. Great. All in favor?
Aye.
First meeting.
3 hours and 35.
Oh, now we're on. Do I have a motion to adjourn? So moved.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Councilwoman DiMichelli enjoyed her time so much tonight that she doesn't want to